would have to give up everything from her late husband's family, which clearly indicated that she needed to observe the duties of a widow. Yang Zhao felt it was best not to continue on that topic. So he pulled out a palm-sized glass mirror with a wooden frame. Inside was just a few pieces of glass, but at that time, it was a highly coveted luxury item. As soon as he handed the mirror to Yang Yuyao, she immediately became enamored with it, admiring herself from different angles. Yang Zhao promptly flattered her, saying, "Yuyao, you're still as beautiful as ever. You make my heart flutter." Yang Yuyao shot him a glance, undeniably charming, then stood up to close the shop door. For a moment, there was no more conversation, only the crackling sounds of a fire, which made the atmosphere feel intensely warm. After the storm passed, Yang Zhao wrapped his arm around Yang Yuyao and asked, "Do you know if there are figures like the three scenic masters and a man in the capital?" Yang Yuyao was taken aback. While an ordinary commoner might not know, she was not someone to be easily overlooked. She had a lover in the Imperial City's guards, so she was somewhat familiar with this and shared the information with Yang Zhao. However, Yang Zhao's inquiry puzzled her, prompting her to ask, "Why are you asking about this?" Yang Zhao replied, somewhat uncertain, "Maybe it's for a gift." Although he didn't completely clarify Yang Yuyao's confusion, she informed him. And Yang Zhao was astonished. "Wow, you're saying I should rely on these two? One is a dragon, and the other is a phoenix." Yet, he realized that even those who were prominent struggled to get gifts to them. So he asked Yang Yuyao, "If I wanted to give a gift to Princess Yuzhen, how would I meet her?" Yang Yuyao thought for a moment and said, "It seems the princess holds several banquets each month. If you attend, you can present your gift at the banquet. But what are the conditions to attend these banquets?" Yang Zhao inquired. "To attend, you need to be invited by the princess or have an invitation letter. For someone like you, who lacks fame, you'll need to showcase your strengths in the letter. If the princess finds it interesting, she'll agree to let you attend." Yang Zhao thought to himself that he had no strengths to showcase. Realizing that the invitation route wouldn't work for him, he then self-deprecatingly joked, "I only have one strength, but it's not easy to demonstrate." Yang Yuyao laughed and said, "Oh, you have strengths? I wasn't aware of that." Yang Zhao had a mischievous smile on his face. "You know, I just showed you earlier." Yang Yuyao, being quite experienced herself, thought for a moment and then playfully punched Yang Zhao in the chest, chiding, "Are you trying to be serious? But your words remind me, you're not bad looking. Why don't you draw a portrait and send it as a greeting?" After saying that, she burst into laughter. Yang Zhao, feeling annoyed, retorted, "Are you saying I'm a pretty boy? Just wait and see how I deal with you." The two then engaged in playful banter. It's no wonder people say Yang Zhao, also known as Yang Guozhong, is a bit of a rogue. What Yang Yuyao said would usually just be taken as a joke by anyone else, but Yang Zhao took it seriously. It was said that 3 days later, Princess Yuzhen would be hosting a banquet, and he actually found someone to paint a self-portrait, which he delivered to Princess Yuzhen's table. However, matters in the world often unfold in unpredictable ways. Princess Yuzhen didn't have the same ambitions as another princess, and one might wonder why she frequently hosted banquets. In truth, it was simply out of loneliness and the desire for companionship. Yang Zhao's actions turned out to be fortuitous. Upon seeing the self-portrait, Princess Yuzhen was pleased, thinking it quite charming, and since the portrait depicted a handsome individual, she decided to invite him to the banquet. Yang Zhao meticulously dressed for the occasion, carrying the items prepared by Xiao Chuan. Inside, he felt anxious, unsure if the unusual gift would please Princess Yuzhen, but he had no choice but to trust his instincts. He had worried about his humble status and felt it might be awkward to sit among high-profile guests, but once he arrived, he realized that although most attendees were talented young individuals, many were also down on their luck. To his surprise, his own attire seemed quite presentable, leading him to wonder if he had mistakenly entered the wrong place. At that moment, Princess Yuzhen arrived. She was stunningly beautiful, tall with an alluring figure, holding a feather duster in her right hand and raising her left hand gracefully as she glided in. It must be said that Princess Yuzhen, as a social butterfly, exuded an irresistible charm. Her robe somehow gave off a sense of seductive appeal, instantly capturing everyone's attention. The hall fell silent, and one could hear the sound of swallowing. Once seated, everyone stood to pay their respects. Princess Yuzhen merely nodded slightly, and then invited everyone to take their seats. Following that, she announced the start of the banquet, and maidservants began serving food and drinks. Holding up her cup, Princess Yuzhen stated, "Today's banquet is a bit special. I recently tasted a new dish that was quite delicious. I hope everyone will compose poems to critique it." Everyone eagerly agreed, standing up one by one to toast the princess, introduce themselves, and showcase their talents. Yang Zhao, being a lively person, quickly realized that this was essentially a matchmaking event. Each down-and-out scholar had come in hopes of winning over the princess, aiming for future recommendations. Soon, it was Yang Zhao's turn. As soon as he stood up, he caught the attention of Princess Yuzhen. "Ah, I know you. You're quite an interesting person, Yang Zhao, right? You look even better in person than in the portrait," she exclaimed. Yang Zhao quickly bowed, saying, "Your Highness, you flatter me." Seeing Yang Zhao's somewhat embarrassed expression, Princess Yuzhen laughed charmingly. "All right, I won't tease you anymore. I wonder what makes you exceptional. My arithmetic skills are decent, but today is not the time to showcase them. I have brought a gift for the princess, and I hope you will accept it." Princess Yuzhen was quite interested. "Show it to me." Yang Zhao held up a wooden box, which was adorned with many rhinestones. When the light hit it, it sparkled brilliantly. Just the box itself was extraordinary, and everyone began to speculate about what treasure it contained. At this moment, Yang Zhao earnestly said, I have a small request, and I hope the princess can agree. Before the princess could open the box, she placed her hand on it and asked, what is it? Yang Zhao replied, please forgive my boldness, but seeing the princess is like encountering a celestial being. If I could see you in this outfit I've gifted, I would have no regrets. Hearing Yang Zhao's sincere words, Princess Yuzhen was not angered by his presumptuousness. Instead, she felt a sense of pleasure from being admired. She neither agreed nor refused, but opened the box and was immediately dazzled by the clothes and accessories inside. Inside, there was a princess dress, a pair of crystal shoes, a queen's crown, and a necklace, all adorned with rhinestones. Women have no resistance to shiny things, and Princess Yuzhen, like a little girl who received a doll, skipped away with the box. Everyone speculated that the princess must be going to change clothes, and they began to envy Yang Zhao, realizing that it seemed the opportunity to win the princess's favor would fall to him. At that moment, a maid came to summon Yang Zhao inside, eliciting another round of murmurs from the crowd. Yang Zhao followed the maid into a room, which was all white, and he quickly lowered his head. He then heard Princess Yuzhen say, am I not beautiful? Even a seasoned romantic like Yang Zhao felt a bit embarrassed, wiping his sweat while saying, beautiful, beautiful. The princess is very beautiful. Then raise your head to speak. Seeing you so nervous, I won't bite, the princess said. Yang Zhao had no choice but to comply and lift his head, and the sight was enough to make anyone's heart race. The princess continued, I really like the clothes you sent, but I don't know how to wear them, so I called you in to take a look. Actually, Zhang Xiaochuan had been thoughtful. There were instructions in the box, but when Yang Zhao took them out to study, he learned how to wear them but lost the instructions. However, it was fortunate that he lost them, or he wouldn't have had the chance for such close contact with Princess Yuzhen. Seeing that Yang Zhao was still dazed, she urged, come and take a look. These clothes are quite strange. Yang Zhao finally snapped back to reality and picked up the bra on the floor, awkwardly demonstrating how to wear it on himself, indicating to the princess to wear it that way. To his surprise, Princess Yuzhen boldly asked Yang Zhao to help her put it on, and he naturally accepted. However, the outfit was quite suggestive, making Yang Zhao feel hot and restless. But it was clear that this was not the time for passion. After the clothes were on, Princess Yuzhen held the box and admired herself in the mirror, clearly satisfied. It turned out the inside of the box was also inlaid with a dressing mirror. Now, Princess Yuzhen looked just like a European noblewoman. Although the princess dress was not as luxurious and beautiful as the Eastern Phoenix crown and embroidered gown, it was novel and sparkled brilliantly. Princess Yuzhen was extremely fond of it and hurried to the hall to showcase it to everyone, naturally receiving unanimous praise. After the banquet, Yang Zhao unexpectedly gained the princess's favor and was allowed to stay overnight, marking the beginning of his career in a way that diverged from history. Chapter 150. All of you get back. After Zhang Yu waited for Zhang Jingren's team to depart, he became restless again. Now that the Zhang family's protection was gone, he could take control of the Zhang family. With this thought, Zhang Yu immediately summoned the military commander of Yizhou, assembling 500 troops to advance toward the Zhang family. On the way, Zhang Yu thought that regardless of the consequences, he would first capture the people from the Zhang family and throw them into prison, then deal with the aftermath. He wasn't worried about them not handing over the secret formula. Besides, the Zhang family had more than just the glass formula. He could hide some other secret formulas for his own legacy. However, reality proved to be quite different from his ideal. Upon entering the Zhang family's territory, he saw a massive crowd of over 1,000 people outside the village, clearly aware of Zhang Yu's approach and coming to observe out of panic. However, Zhang Yu was mistaken. These people were not there to watch but to block his troops, since Zhang Yu was openly confronting the Zhang family without any disguise. As soon as his troops left Yizhou, the Zhang family's men saw them and rushed back to report when they learned that Zhang Yu intended to capture people from the Zhang family in Suzhou. Once Zhang Xiaochuan learned of this, he lazily replied that he understood but had no plans to respond. The messenger was alarmed and hurriedly went to find the district leader, Old Lu, from the happiness community. Upon hearing the news, Old Lu panicked. This couldn't happen. They had worked hard for their current good life. And if the Zhang family members were captured, not to mention what would happen in the future, they could end up suffering as well. Currently, the happiness community was closely tied to the Zhang family, so whether for their own sake or to repay the Zhang family's kindness, they could not allow the Zhang family members to be captured. Therefore, Old Lu gathered several district leaders and organized 1,000 young men, armed with farming tools, to confront the officials and soldiers. These people had never been so united before. Their current life was something they had never dared to dream of before. Solid, bright houses, decent monthly wages, meals with meat every day, and each family receiving dozens of coins and land rent every year. Most importantly, no officials dared to bully them here, and they received enough respect from the Zhang family. Now that someone wanted to disrupt this way of life, they were determined to fight back, regardless of whether the opponent was a government official or a soldier, for they no longer wished to return to the uncertain and fearful days of the past. As Zhang Yu approached with his troops, he saw that these people were all young and strong, each holding farming tools capable of causing harm. Pitchforks, rakes, shovels, and hoes were all present. If a real fight broke out, it might not end well. However, the current dynasty was in its prime, the military was well disciplined, and the laws were strict. Thus, the official army had a natural advantage over the common people, and their imposing presence subdued the villagers. Zhang Yu was quite pleased with the villagers' reaction and arrogantly declared, Who is the leader? Come forward to be punished. I can overlook the actions of the rest. Zhang Xiaochuan was at home teasing the newly opened blind box princess when he heard the head of security, Wei Laosan, reporting outside. Erlang, it's bad. A group of soldiers has come outside, about 500 of them. Zhang Xiaochuan lazily got up and said, did they get restless just after the big brother left? It's something we expected. Just 500 people, no need to panic. Wei Laosan looked anxious and said, Erlang, it's not the soldiers that are scary. But there are over 1,000 peasants involved, and they might be fighting already. Upon hearing this, Zhang Xiaochuan realized it was serious. Peasants were no match for soldiers. And this could lead to trouble, so he hurried outside. As he walked, he said, stop dawdling. Quickly inform Luo Xiaohu to proceed as planned. Zhang Xiaochuan hopped on his freshly made motorcycle. Ever since discovering a certain resin, he had started making tires, so he had put together a motorcycle first, which was much more comfortable than riding a horse. With a twist of the throttle, he arrived outside the village, where the peasants and soldiers were already facing off. Shoving and shoving, tension rising as they were about to clash. Zhang Xiaochuan honked the motorcycle horn loudly, startling everyone, causing them to halt. Zhang Yu was holding on to a startled horse tightly, almost falling off. At that moment, Zhang Xiaochuan elegantly got off the motorcycle and shouted at the crowd, I, Zhang Xiaochuan, have arrived. Everyone stop. He exerted too much force in his shout, momentarily losing his voice and coughing painfully. Without the presence of Tung Yi, things were inconvenient. There was no one to call out to. Fortunately, at this time, Wei Laosan arrived with a team of security guards. Zhang Xiaochuan quietly told Wei Laosan to have the peasants stop and return to work. Just then, Old Lu and several district heads approached Zhang Xiaochuan. Wei Laosan, still using a powerful voice, shouted, you bunch of rascals dare to slack off? Get back to work. Those who don't listen 1T get fed. Everyone laughed. Not taking it seriously, Wei Laosan looked at Zhang Xiaochuan with a grievance, as if to say, look, they don't listen to me. Due to the loud noise and standing too close, Zhang Xiaochuan's ears were buzzing, and he couldn't quite understand what was being shouted. So, he kicked Wei Laosan and said, did you learn from Tung Yi? I only told them to go back, be a bit more polite. Turning to Old Lu, he said in a hoarse voice, Old Lu, thank you for your support, but this is too dangerous. You take everyone back to work, I can handle this. Old Lu hesitated, saying, but this little celestial master, we can't let them harm you. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled slightly and teased, you just called me a little celestial master. Do you think they can harm me? Don't worry, go back. Old Lu ceased to insist and told the district heads, let us go, take everyone back, and do what they need to do. As they were about to head back, a discordant voice interrupted. Do you think I, the governor of Jinan Dao, am just for show? You bump into me and just turn around? Did you ask my opinion? The peasants who were about to leave turned back. And Zhang Xiaochuan stepped forward and asked, what do you intend to do? Due to the vocal cords not having recovered yet, the voice was quite soft. Zhang Yu thought he was doing it on purpose, so he shouted, what did you say? Speak louder. Zhang Xiaochuan was swallowing saliva, trying to ease the discomfort in his throat before speaking. Suddenly, a thunderous voice rang in his ears. He said, what will you do about it? The voice was definitely infused with inner strength, and Zhang Xiaochuan felt a buzzing in his ears again, and so did Zhang Yu. Despite being the governor of a region, he was merely a civil official. Zhang Xiaochuan kicked Wei Laosan again, saying, get out of my way, I'm going deaf. Chapter 151 Zhangjiji Zhang Yu was too annoyed to entertain their antics, and said in frustration, these unruly people who have offended me. I will be magnanimous and not punish them all, but the leader must stay behind, the others can leave. Zhang Xiaochuan wanted to argue, but his throat was in too much pain, so he pulled Wei Laosan and said, none of these people will stay, they all go back. And I will take full responsibility for everything. Wei Laosan loudly repeated Zhang Xiaochuan's words. Zhang Yu, seeing this, was furious. Zhang Xiaochuan, what are you trying to play at? You can't save anyone today. I will deal with these troublemakers first, and then settle accounts with you. As he spoke, Zhang Yu pointed to Old Man Lu and several district heads, saying, those are the leaders, arrest them. Anyone who dares to resist will be treated as rebels and dealt with accordingly. As soon as he finished speaking, several soldiers stepped forward to apprehend Old Man Lu. Zhang Xiaochuan, worried they might resist and get hurt, shouted to stop them, but his voice was too soft. However, at that moment, Wei Laosan seemed to understand the unspoken cue, and before Zhang Xiaochuan's voice had faded, he shouted, stop. This shout was very effective, and the advancing soldiers were momentarily stunned. Seeing that Zhang Yu was about to urge the soldiers forward, Zhang Xiaochuan immediately pointed one hand to the sky while raising the other to ear level, making a strange gesture and then pointing to the horse beneath Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu was facing Zhang Xiaochuan, riding the horse, so he could see very clearly. Just as he was about to mock Zhang Xiaochuan for being inexplicable, he seemed to hear a faint poof sound, and then felt a looseness beneath him. Losing his balance as the horse fell with a thud, throwing Zhang Yu to the ground in disarray. His guards quickly helped him up, and just as Zhang Yu was about to curse, he noticed blood flowing like a stream from the horse's head. He quickly checked, finding a black hole the size of a broad bean in the horse's forehead, from which the blood was flowing. The horse was dead beyond recovery. Looking at the dead war horse, Zhang Yu felt an overwhelming fear, thinking that if that had been aimed at him just now, oh no, he couldn't even imagine it. This kid was too ruthless, and what kind of sorcery was this? Trembling, he said, what kind of sorcery did you use to dare kill my horse? Are you trying to rebel? Zhang Xiaochuan walked over to Zhang Yu's side and, in a hoarse voice, said softly, "It's just a horse. No need to make a fuss. You're sitting so high up, it's inconvenient for me to speak, so please come down. It will be much easier to talk this way." Zhang Yu was furious. "You killed the horse just to make me get down? Fine, I'll endure this for now since you have your tricks." With that thought, Zhang Yu stopped talking to Zhang Xiaochuan and ordered his subordinates to capture old Lu and a few others. Just as those people were about to move forward, Zhang Xiaochuan pointed to the sky with one hand and raised the other to ear level, causing them to immediately halt in their tracks. It was terrifying. It felt like having a knife to their throats. Seeing they didn't dare to advance, Zhang Yu urged, "Go on. What are you afraid of?" "I don't believe he would dare to kill you. That would be tantamount to rebellion." A few soldiers hesitated, wanting to step forward, but Zhang Xiaochuan interjected. "Don't talk nonsense. Killing soldiers is rebellion. But do you have any evidence to prove that I killed the soldiers? Is it because I pointed like this?" He made a gesture as if pointing at a soldier, and that soldier was so frightened that he turned and ran, shouting, "It's the way of the Celestial Master. He is a disciple of the Celestial Master. Don't offend him, run." This panic spread like a domino effect, creating an irreversible chain reaction. These people had heard the legend of Zhang Xiaochuan being a disciple of the Celestial Master, and combined with his miraculous gesture, the soldiers in the front line who were supposed to capture them were all scared away by that shout. Zhang Yu noticed the trend of their retreat and quickly ordered his deputy to stop them. After taking down 3 men, he finally managed to stem the tide of retreat. At this moment, Zhang Yu's face was ashen with anger. "Zhang Xiaochuan, what do you want?" Zhang Xiaochuan replied, feeling speechless. "That is what I should be asking. You brought so many soldiers to block my door. What do you want?" Zhang Xiaochuan continued, "You know what I want. Smart people should cooperate and hand over the formula. Otherwise, I will lead my troops into your Zhang family, and it won't be as pleasant as this." Seeing that he was being threatened even in this situation, Zhang Xiaochuan didn't want to engage anymore. Since he had already shown his strength earlier, he let old Lu take everyone back while he stayed to confront Zhang Yu. Zhang Xiaochuan stood there, seemingly weak, allowing Zhang Yu to shout without anyone daring to cross him to capture anyone. Once old Lu and the others were far away, Zhang Xiaochuan signaled to Wei Laosan, who then took out a prepared sign and hammered its post into the ground. The sign read Zhangjiji in large letters, with a smaller line below stating, "A magical barrier has been set here. Those who violate it will face death." After setting up the sign, Zhang Xiaochuan turned with Wei Laosan and the others to leave, leaving Zhang Yu in disarray, shouting, "Zhang Xiaochuan, come back. Are you trying to rebel?" Zhang Xiaochuan did not respond, and only Wei Laosan's voice could be heard. "Second young master invites you to the manor for tea, but no weapons allowed, or you'll bear the consequences." Zhang Yu, infuriated, retorted, "You dare to threaten me." But this time, no one responded to him. Zhang Yu then instructed his subordinates to test the waters, and one of them, following orders, advanced cautiously. Wei Laosan, who was heading back, asked, "Second young master, why go through all this trouble? Just take them all out and occupy this land of Jiannan. Wouldn't it be better to crown you as emperor?" Zhang Xiaochuan had indeed thought about it, as with their current strength, they could easily take over Jiannan. However, there are no wars without casualties. Zhang Xiaochuan did not want to take this step unless absolutely necessary. As someone from a highly civilized world, he abhorred killing and was at least unwilling to cause it without reason. He was not an ambitious person. What he truly wanted was simply 2 things. First, to live comfortably and freely, and second, to slightly change the world using advanced technology, thereby fulfilling some dreams from his past life. The best scenario would be for the emperor to recognize his value, allowing for a mutually beneficial relationship. He would help strengthen the nation, and in return, he would receive privileges. That would be ideal. But the current situation was that the emperor seemed to be aware of what he had created, yet unfortunately only planned to seize the results without intending to reuse him. If things continued like this, he would have no choice but to resort to rebellion. Wei Laosan saw Zhang Xiaochuan was silent and asked again, "Are you moved? Let us go back and get assault rifles, and then come back to deal with them." Zhang Xiaochuan snapped out of his thoughts and kicked Wei Laosan, saying, "What are you talking about? Let's go back to work. We'll talk about it when we truly get to that point." Chapter 152. Having a meal with the inspector on a lookout tower by the roadside. A member of the hunting team asked Luo Xiaohu, "Captain Luo, if they cross the line later, are we really going to kill them?" Luo Xiaohu put down his binoculars and replied, "If it comes to that, we can only kill for real. However, we can first use firepower to deter them and try to shoot directly. After all, Erlang doesn't want to take that final step. I think they are already restless. Let us see if you can shoot through the helmet of the one who is testing us. Do you have confidence?" The team member looked aggrieved and said, "Captain Luo, saying that is an insult to me. At this distance, I could hit you even with my eyes closed, believe it or not." Luo Xiaohu kicked the guy, saying, "Stop bragging and be ready." Having seen Zhang Xiaochuan kick Ting Yi, Luo Xiaohu also kicked the mischievous members a couple of times. It felt great, and he enjoyed it. So now kicking was a preferred way of communication for him, thanks to Zhang Xiaochuan's influence. Zhang Yu picked up a whip and struck at a soldier who was advancing by millimeters. The whip landed heavily, causing the soldier to scream. In pain, the soldier forgot his fear and charged forward with his sword. However, just as he crossed the line, he felt his helmet being forcefully knocked off, scaring him into retreating back outside the line. Looking at the helmet, there was a hole the size of a broad bean, and it was still emitting white smoke. The soldier knelt on the ground, nearly breaking down mentally, alternately bowing to the boundary marker and Zhang Yu, mumbling, "Spare me, Heavenly Master, spare me, Ambassador." Zhang Yu turned to look at the other soldiers, but they all retreated in unison. Zhang Yu felt very awkward and helpless. He had come confidently to Zhang's home to arrest people, but now what was this? They had barged in, and not only were those soldiers terrified, but he was scared too, suddenly having a hole in his head. Who wouldn't he be afraid? However, feeling awkward was better than losing one's life. It was clear that the morale of the troops had collapsed, and today was destined to return empty-handed. Although he felt Zhang Xiaochuan was up to something mysterious, he had no evidence and no good way to counter it. For now, I can only go back. However, news has already spread from the capital that an imperial decree has been issued, so I have to return and wait for the eunuchs to deliver the order. We'll see if the Zhang family is really planning a rebellion. It seems I haven't handled my own affairs well, and I doubt I'll be able to return to the capital. With this thought, Zhang Yu revealed a sinister look. If he can't take down his brother, then taking down his elder brother will do. But this grievance can't just be swallowed. As the regional governor, I command the military forces in Jiannan, and I also hold the position of inspector, which oversees the inspection of criminal justice and the supervision of officials. This means that mobilizing local officials to serve my interests has become quite easy. Thus, Zhang Yu issued orders to the various prefectures in Jiannan, instructing them to increase taxes on Zhang family goods and to strictly scrutinize their transportation. Since Zhang Xiaochuan established the Zhang family base, Zhang Yu seemed to have quieted down a lot. Zhang Xiaochuan also didn't bother with Zhang Yu, patiently waiting for his move while focusing on building factories and developing technology, leaving no time to contemplate what Zhang Yu might do next. As the saying goes, one force can defeat 10 skills. The worst-case scenario would only be a rebellion. With the current production level of the Zhang family, they could easily muster a 1,000-man army equipped with assault rifles and rocket launchers, capable of overwhelming 100 times that in traditional forces. Today, after finishing up at the paper mill, Zhang Xiaochuan went to the large cafeteria near the office building, which had just been completed. The first floor was the dining area, and the second floor was a lounge. The cafeteria could accommodate about 2,000 people at once, with 20 serving windows. Zhang Xiaochuan felt a sense of déjà vu from his previous life working in an electronics factory, but given the current limited conditions, there was no choice but to make do for now. Once all the factories were built and production was up and running, he would invest some effort into establishing a proper dining center. While contemplating, he casually grabbed some food and went up to the small dining room on the second floor. Although it was called a private room, it was just a small restaurant with a few tables. Originally, there was no need for such a room. Zhang Xiaochuan believed there was no need for special treatment, and everyone should eat together, regardless of their position. However, as soon as he sat down, it was as if the surrounding tables were electrified. No one dared to sit nearby. Zhang Xiaochuan found himself forced into a special situation. Now, he had to eat in this newly built private room. Inside, there were already some people present. Besides a few senior executives from the company, there was even a high-ranking official, Shi Tai, the newly appointed governor of Suzhou. Upon seeing Zhang Xiaochuan, he stood up to greet him. Erlang, it's rare to see you here for a meal. Others also greeted Zhang Xiaochuan, who nodded in acknowledgement. He then teased Shi Tai. I'm the rare guest. But your presence here is quite unusual too. You can't blame me for this. As the saying goes, fame brings many affairs. Your Zhang family estate, no, I should say your industrial park, is now the center of Suzhou. It's bustling with activity every day. At this rate, the commercial taxes will rival the agricultural taxes in a year, so there are many matters to attend to. I have to come over often to check things out. You've hit the nail on the head. In a few years, you might not even care about agricultural taxes. But I think there's one thing you haven't mentioned, right? What haven't I mentioned? That the food here suits your taste, so you deliberately came to mooch a meal. With a chuckle, Shi Tai said, are you teasing me? But you're not wrong. I did come here for the food. You have no idea, many chefs from fine dining establishments come here to learn. Seeing him admit it so readily, Zhang Xiaochuan found it difficult to continue teasing. He sat down across from Shi Tai, chatting while eating. Shi Tai lowered his voice and said, there will be some issues concerning your family soon. I advise you to make preparations, otherwise, it will be quite troublesome. Zhang Xiaochuan sensed there was more to come and politely replied, I hope you can offer some guidance. Shi Tai continued, the authorities have already instructed various regions to increase taxes on your family's goods, and all your goods will be strictly inspected. I fear it will be very difficult for your goods to move. Upon hearing this, Zhang Xiaochuan thought it was quite shameless. However, he could just raise prices since the demand outweighed the supply. But strict inspections would be troublesome. Any excuse could lead to his goods being detained for days, which would create chaos. He exclaimed, this is too shameless. It's one thing to sit idle, but now they want to cut off my supply lines. What? Nothing. Zhang Xiaochuan noticed Shi Tai's calm demeanor. Did he have a solution? He quickly asked, I mean, this truly is a deadlock. Does the governor have any advice? Chapter 153. Common interest. Facing Zhang Xiaochuan's question, Shi Tai shook his head. There is no solution, but you don't need to worry too much. If you can hold on for a few days, it will naturally resolve itself. Why is that? Shi Tai did not answer directly, but instead posed a question. Your formula is indeed precious, but which prominent family doesn't have valuable formulas and resources? Why do they only dare to come to you directly? Zhang Xiaochuan replied, I really don't know. But if they keep demanding like this, isn't that akin to robbery? Wouldn't that lead to chaos? Shi Tai chuckled, you're not being very clever here. Isn't it all about you taking from me and me taking from you? Throughout history, everything has been taken by force. As he spoke, he pointed to the sky, implying that even thrones were seized by force, leaving Zhang Xiaochuan even more confused. He then asked, so, by this logic it's right to rob me? But why not rob other families? Because other families have developed slowly, their relationships are complex, and they lack a legitimate reason to act recklessly. That would provoke public anger and lead to the chaos you mentioned. As for you, Zhang Xiaochuan retorted angrily, so you mean the weak should perish? Shirtai remained silent for a moment, nodding slightly before saying, but your family isn't weak. Some people just don't recognize your strength yet. That's why I say, if you can hold on for a few days, it will naturally resolve itself. It's impossible to completely shut off your family. Zhang Xiaochuan was taken aback. He had kept his research on firearms very confidential. How did Shirtai seem to know about his family's strength? He cautiously asked, what does the governor mean by strength? Of course, that strength refers to connections and relationships. Shirtai looked at Zhang Xiaochuan, who appeared confused, and continued with a smile. Although you haven't deliberately built a network, once profit relations arise, connections will form naturally. Zhang Xiaochuan was still a bit puzzled. So Shirtai thought that since he had started explaining, he might as well elaborate. First of all, the steel, cement, glass, and monosodium glutamate produced by your family are all in high demand and can be sold for profit. Naturally, these people share common interests with your family. Secondly, since you manufacture goods, you need to purchase materials. Those involved in iron mines, coal mines, salt mines, timber, transportation, and even aquaculture and grain trading also have similar interests with your family. Furthermore, your business activities lead to increased commercial activity, more merchants, goods, and job opportunities, which in turn improves people's livelihoods, makes it easier for them to earn money, and increases government tax revenue. Thus, many common people and officials now have shared interests with you. So, there are many officials, businessmen, and common folks intertwined with your family's interests. It's not just your family's path that's being blocked, but everyone's path. After listening to Shirtai's words, Zhang Xiaochuan finally realized that he hadn't thought this through. He had unknowingly influenced so many people. In disbelief, he asked, is there really such a big impact? Of course, replied Shirtai. In the past, when any family had good products, they would keep them hidden for their own profit. It's the first time someone like you has sold them at a low price for everyone to benefit. Zhang Xiaochuan's expression became a bit odd. Are you saying I sell them cheaply? My wine set was initially sold for 1,000 guan. Even now, it's still 200 guan per set. Shirtai shook his head. Those who can afford such items wouldn't care about a few hundred or 1,000 guan. So a glass wine set would now be around 3,000 guan in the market. After saying this, he regretted it a bit and asked, you're not going to raise the price, are you? Zhang Xiaochuan grinned. Not at all, but I do plan to increase production. That is fine. There is still high demand in the market. After chatting for a while, Shirtai mentioned he had official business and took his leave. Zhang Xiaochuan returned to his office, where Yao Air reported that some goods from the estate had been seized. He hadn't expected it to happen so quickly, but knowing that Shirtai had given a heads up made him feel reassured. He instructed Yao Air to notify everyone to cooperate actively with the authorities during inspections and to avoid any resistance. However, he couldn't just be passive. Since everyone had shared interests, he would solidify and expand these common interests. Zhang Xiaochuan called for Mo Tianji, Lu Qin, and Huang Pengzi to hold a meeting. He shared his plan to hold a product launch and discussed relevant content and details with everyone, then assigned tasks for them to get busy with. Since it wasn't Zhang Xiaochuan's first time organizing such an event, he became increasingly adept at managing the arrangements. In the days leading up to the launch, the inflow and outflow of goods from the Zhang family faced significant impacts. Zhang Yu listened to the reports coming in from below, feeling quite pleased, thinking, you Zhang family want to compete with me? A simple move from me can make you suffer greatly. Now that the goods coming and going have decreased by more than half, let us see if you come to beg me. The day of the press conference has arrived, taking place in the new building of a machinery factory, with a 10-meter high ceiling. The spacious area of thousands of square meters ensures that the venue is more than adequate for the event. Upon entering, a red carpet stretches forward to the stage, with audience seating on both sides, featuring modern chair designs. Long tables are placed between each row, already set with snacks and beverages. Over the past 6 months, any businessman who has collaborated with the Zhang family has made significant profits. Therefore, when news of the press conference spread, merchants from the region flocked to attend. And even though there was still plenty of time before it began, many had already arrived. Zhang Xiaochuan had prepared a rest area and a self-service snack and beverage station in the adjacent space. Merchants gathered in small groups, chatting animatedly. Besides Zhang Xiaochuan, another highly popular figure at today's press conference is Lei Shan. Originally a key player in the local business scene, Lei Shan's influence has only grown since Liao Kuan's downfall, as he has now taken on the role of general distributor for glass, earning him the title of a prominent leader in the business community. Lei Shan conducts business with integrity. When Zhang Xiaochuan lowered the price of his glass products, he followed suit without taking advantage of the demand by raising prices. He is also known for treating small merchants fairly, ensuring that transactions are clear-cut. This has earned him great respect among the business community. Upon arriving at the venue, merchants eagerly greeted him, calling out various titles like Master Lei, Mr. Lei, and Boss Lei. Lei Shan showed no airs, responding warmly to each greeting. As the time approached, Instead of heading to the rest area, Lei Shan walked directly to the venue and took a seat in the front row. It was then that everyone noticed someone was already seated there. This seat was not chosen randomly. Each person's placement was prearranged, with the front row reserved for the most influential merchants. Upon seeing Lei Shan, those seated in the front row stood to greet him, causing a stir among the local merchants who recognized him. Isn't that the head of the Shi family from Izhou? One exclaimed. The Shi family is notable, with ancestors who served as chancellors. Although they may not have produced prominent officials in recent times, they have thrived in business, focusing on land, grain, and the renowned brocade of Izhou. Their financial strength is considerable, holding more influence in the region than even the provincial governor. The fact that a member of this family attended the Zhang family's press conference highlights its significance. However, that wasn't the most shocking aspect. The real surprise was that Lei Shan and the Shi family member were seated at the edge of the front row, leaving the central positions for others. The audience didn't have to wonder for long, as individuals began to fill the vacant seats, each arrival prompting gasps of astonishment. In the front row of 12 seats, aside from Lei Shan and Zhang Xiaochuan, the remaining 10 were occupied by the 10 wealthiest merchants in the region. To put their wealth into perspective, during the Kaiyuan era, the annual tax revenue of the region amounted to over 30 million coins, and these 10 merchants earned profits equivalent to half of the national treasury. Although only 3 heads of families attended, the rest were managers, which was still significant. Given the situation, if it weren't for the time constraints, there might have been even more heads of families present. Even someone as generous as Lei Shan felt somewhat uneasy sitting in this position. He never expected to be in the same room with these 10 families in his lifetime. At this moment, Zhang Xiaochuan arrived late, with Yaoer following him. Zhang Xiaochuan greeted each person in the front row, while Yaoer introduced each guest. The first was Lei Shan, who needed no introduction. Zhang Xiaochuan stepped forward to greet him. Greetings, Uncle Lei. Lei Shan returned the greeting but complained. Oh, come on, why did you put me here? Are you trying to roast me over a fire? What right do I have to sit with these representatives? Zhang Xiaochuan chuckled. You should be grateful to my sister-in-law, Chao Qing. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this seat. How can you say that? If Chao brought me here, should I thank her? I'll have a word with Jing Ren about this, Lei Shan replied, clearly annoyed. Originally, I had you sitting over there, Zhang Xiaochuan said, pointing to an empty spot in the middle. Do you want to switch back? Lei Shan was momentarily speechless and sighed. All right, I should thank Chao. But you're in trouble. We'll settle our scores later. Zhang Xiaochuan made a face. All right. Next, he approached the next guest. And Yaoer introduced. This is the head of the Shi family from Jiannan Izhou. The Shi family primarily deals in shoe brocade and is a renowned business family in shoe. Zhang Xiaochuan quickly greeted. Greetings, head of the Shi family. I've long admired you. The Shi family head promptly stood to return the greeting. I didn't expect Mr. Zhang to be so young. Truly impressive. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled. You flatter me. Please, take your seat, head of the Shi family. Then came the next guests, in order. The Wei family from Jiannan Mianzhou, known for brewing. And their Jiannan Shaochun is now a tribute wine. The Yuan family from Longxi, said to have imperial ancestry, primarily dealing in jade and jewelry. With the largest treasure pavilion in Chang'an being their property, the Dou family from Shanbei, specializing in daily necessities manufacturing, their general store is akin to modern chain supermarkets. Flourishing in the north and even in some southern regions, the Wang family from Jiangnan, known for glass production, with their glass business spread throughout the region. The Feng family from Lingnan, dealing in timber and supplying wood to the royal family. The Pei family from Hudong, specializing in agricultural products like fruits and vegetables, nearly monopolizing the fruit and vegetable trade in the 2 capitals. The Luo family from Luoyang, which reportedly made their fortune from waste collection, now in the transportation industry. Reaching all corners, the Zhou family from Chang'an, in the catering business, but not merely operating a restaurant. They focus on food processing, such as dried fruits, preserved fruits, rice and flour products, and jerky. The Deng family from Jiangnan, primarily in papermaking, producing most of the paper in the region. Observant readers might wonder why the top 10 wealthy merchants do not deal in salt, iron, and grain. In fact, each of them has dealings in these areas. The Tang dynasty had a relatively open market for salt and iron, allowing any capable merchant to participate. So these were not considered core business areas for the top 10 wealthy families. As Zhang Xiaochuan greeted the representatives of various wealthy merchants, the venue was already buzzing with excitement. Am I dreaming? It's the first time I've seen these top 10 merchants gathered in one place. This press conference is definitely worth bragging about for a lifetime. Look, that's the actual head of the Wang family from Jiangnan. I didn't expect him to be so handsome. I thought he would be chubby. Haha, that's not your fault. Anyone hearing the name Wang Yuanbao would picture a plump person. I must say, the Zhang family is impressive to have invited so many wealthy merchants. I was worried about the Zhang family's downfall after seeing the government crack down on them. But now with the support of these 10 families, even the emperor wouldn't dare to easily dismiss the Zhang family. You're exaggerating. They're just here for the press conference. Essentially to do business. It's not as dramatic as you make it sound, as if they're all tied together. What this gentleman says is very true. Their presence is indeed a form of support for the Zhang family. However, we are all victims of the government's crackdown on the Zhang family, and we must support them. After this press conference, I will contact my family to support the Zhang family. Otherwise, it will be too late to show our sincerity. Exactly. I will also contact my family to support the Zhang family. After all, if the Zhang family can't deliver goods, we will suffer losses too. Amidst the discussions, Zhang Xiaochuan finished greeting the representatives and did not return to his seat, but walked straight onto the stage. Just then, an old acquaintance, Camilla, arrived unexpectedly. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled and welcomed her. Camilla, I thought you wouldn't make it. Camilla, out of breath, replied, even if I couldn't come, I had to be here. I just made it in time, but your press conference was too rushed. It was really not easy for me to get here. This was a last-minute decision. Please forgive me. Please take a seat. It was then revealed that the last seat was not for Zhang Xiaochuan, but reserved for this merchant from a distant land. Some merchants who had dealings with Camilla started to introduce her. This merchant is quite remarkable. He is from a distant land and typically transports hundreds of thousands of goods every time he comes to Jianan, with hundreds of people in his accompanying caravan. No wonder a front-row seat was saved for him. Zhang Xiaochuan walked towards the stage again, taking a position slightly to the left of the center where a podium had been prepared. He lightly tapped the microphone on the podium, and the tall black boxes surrounding the stage emitted a muffled thudding sound. The audience was drawn in by the sudden strange noise, and the venue gradually quieted down, with some still searching for the source of the sound. Zhang Xiaochuan then began to speak, his voice coming from all directions, as clear as if he were speaking right beside them. Truly magical. Esteemed guests, hello everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend the new product launch of Datang Technology Group. Chapter 155, Pen and Paper. Zhang Xiaochuan knew that many people were hearing the sound system for the first time and would surely be amazed and searching for its source. So, after finishing the first sentence, he paused for a few seconds. Once everyone had adjusted slightly, he continued, due to the extensive content of this press conference, there will also be breaks and meal times in between. Alright, let's get straight to the point and introduce the first product released today. After Zhang Xiaochuan finished speaking, a servant immediately began distributing items on a tray to each table. And there was also a table in the middle of the stage where a portion of the items was delivered. Once everything was distributed, Xiaochuan picked up the first item, which was an A4-sized sheet of white paper. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the paper developed by our Tang Technology Group. I apologize for interrupting, but I must speak up. The person speaking was from the Deng family, known for their paper-making business. They had improved the materials and production of Xian paper, which allowed them to dominate half of the paper industry in the region. Therefore, they found Zhang Xiaochuan's paper quite unappealing and couldn't help but interject. Although Xiaochuan felt displeased, he had to pause since someone in the front row had spoken. The representative from the Deng family continued. We heard that the glass, iron, and MSG all come from your Tang Technology Group, which is why we were invited to this grand event. However, you present us with this. The quality of this paper, in terms of flexibility, texture, and material, is not up to standard. It is rather stiff, and its overly smooth surface is not conducive to ink absorption, making it unsuitable for writing. Others felt the same way about the paper but hesitated to voice their opinions since the Deng family built their reputation on papermaking. Thus, the remarks from the Deng representative confirmed the doubts in others' minds. Someone chimed in. What the Deng representative said is absolutely right. This paper is indeed not of high quality. I wonder what Zhang Xiaochuan means by this. Is this launch just a joke? Another businessman added. Exactly. We came here for the unique products of your family, and what you present is truly disappointing. Zhang Xiaochuan cleared his throat and said, what you all mentioned is indeed true, but I am not one to make jokes. Since you are all here, why not patiently listen to my introduction, and you can raise any questions afterward. Hearing Zhang Xiaochuan's sincere tone, everyone quieted down. And he continued, the form of a product depends on its function. So what is the function of paper? Without waiting for a response, Zhang Xiaochuan answered his own question. The function of paper is writing, but the paper we are launching is different from traditional paper. It is not just for writing with a brush. At this moment, someone in the audience couldn't help but ask, if it's not just for brush writing, then what is the purpose of this paper? I said it is not just for brush writing, but I certainly invented this paper for writing as well. Did everyone notice the second item distributed earlier, which was a stick-like object? Saying this, Zhang Xiaochuan picked up the stick-like object, which was a pen, removed the cap, and wrote a few words on the white paper. He then held up the written paper and the pen, saying, this paper works best in conjunction with the pen. Feel free to try writing on the paper. He shook the hand holding the pen and added, hold the pen this way, allowing the tip to make flat contact with the paper. The audience here consists mostly of business people, so naturally, many can read and write. After a few words were written, quite a few people already felt the benefits. Zhang Xiaochuan continued. This pen is also known as a hard pen and is designed to be used with this type of paper. You may have already experienced its advantages, but I will reiterate them. First, this pen, when paired with this paper, allows for a very fast writing speed. Once everyone becomes proficient, the writing speed will be at least 2 to 3 times that of traditional brush writing. Whether it's for accounting or copying texts, it will be much quicker. Second, the writing on this paper with this pen is quite clear and doesn't take up much space. One page can hold more text. The third, and perhaps the biggest advantage, is that it is inexpensive and has a high production capacity. At this point, Zhang Xiaochuan paused to build anticipation before saying, the first phase can produce 300 tons daily. You might not have a clear concept of this, but converted to 4-inch rice paper, that's about 36 million sheets. As soon as Zhang Xiaochuan finished speaking, the head of the Deng family exclaimed, you mean 36 million sheets a day? That's correct, 36 million sheets daily. Of course, This is just the output for the first phase. If the entire facility is completed, it could produce about 1,000 tons of paper a day, which is approximately 20 million sheets. Impossible. The head of the Deng family asserted confidently, with a tone of disdain and skepticism. Does Zhang Xiaochuan think we are all 3-year-old children? My family leads the entire county in paper production, occupying tens of thousands of acres, with thousands of workers. And we can barely reach 100,000 sheets a day. Not to mention whether your family can produce millions of sheets. Even if you could, you wouldn't have enough space to dry them. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled and replied, dry? Why would we need to dry them? My family doesn't require drying for paper production. However, if you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. I have no need to prove anything. What I need to announce now is the price. Our paper costs less than 1% of the current market price. Taking 4-inch rice paper as an example. The current market price is 15 to 20 coins per sheet, while ours is just 1 coin for 10 sheets. This announcement caused another stir. And seeing that someone was about to speak up, Zhang Xiaochuan quickly continued. You can place your orders today, and deliveries will begin in 3 days. Moreover, we promise that if our production capacity falls short, we will refund your deposit 100-fold. The mention of 100-fold refund silenced everyone. Such a compensation amount indicates immense confidence. The head of the Deng family began to doubt himself. Could it be true that the Zhang family has such a high production capacity? This would be a groundbreaking event. What future would there be for the Deng family's paper? If this is the case, the impact on the Deng family would be significant. At this moment, someone raised another question. Although your paper is priced very low, this type of pen has yet to become popular, which will certainly affect paper sales. Even if the quantity is large, it would be meaningless if it doesn't sell. Zhang Xiaochuan replied, that's my fault for not explaining clearly. This paper is simply more suitable for hard pen writing. It can still be used with a brush pen. And in terms of usage, there is no difference compared to regular rice paper. Alright, regarding this paper, there are various sizes and materials. But I won't introduce them all one by one. If you're interested, you can find our staff to place an order after the conference. Chapter 156, Toilet Paper and Shock Absorbers. After introducing the writing paper, Zhang Xiaochuan picked up a roll of paper from the table, and the audience below also grabbed theirs, resulting in a sudden uproar. It looked like paper, but it was so soft. What could it be used for? Some even wrote on it with a fountain pen. And one of them remarked, look how quickly the ink is absorbed. It really can't be used for writing. A cautious person interjected, hold on before you start complaining. The Zhang family would present something worthless. Let us see what Zhang Xiaochuan has to say. After the audience murmured for a while, Zhang Xiaochuan tapped the microphone, and the sounds gradually quieted down. He then said, this paper is soft and highly absorbent, and it's clear that it's not meant for writing. I'm sure you're all curious about what it's actually for, so I want to keep you in suspense. This is called toilet paper, and its primary purpose, the biggest one, is for use in the restroom. Upon hearing restroom, people instinctively thought about writing while using the toilet, but who writes while in there? A bold businessman stood up and joked, how do you use this in the restroom? Are you supposed to write while you're at it? But it's too soft to write on, haha. The other businessmen burst into laughter at this teasing remark. Zhang Xiaochuan admired their creativity and tore off a few sheets, slapping them to his backside. Could it be used like this? The audience suddenly realized. But there were still some rigid individuals among the businessmen who stood up and said, paper is meant to record the words of sages. How can it be used in the restroom? This is truly disrespectful. Zhang Xiaochuan, you've gone too far. Zhang Xiaochuan was quite annoyed by those who brought up sages. But he understood that in business, one should maintain politeness, so he patiently explained. Paper is just an inanimate object, saying that is nitpicking. Let me ask you a question. Isn't bamboo a medium for recording the words of sages? The person felt trapped by the question but couldn't find fault in it, so he answered somewhat sheepishly. Yes, so what? Zhang Xiaochuan smiled and said, that is fine. I have another question. Isn't toilet paper made from bamboo? The individual was momentarily speechless. Zhang Xiaochuan didn't press the issue further but returned to introducing the product. This toilet paper can be used not only in the restroom but also for wiping your mouth, sweat, and hands. At this moment, someone shouted, stop, Zhang Xiaochuan. That is too disgusting. How can you wipe your mouth after using the restroom? I really can't accept that. Zhang Xiaochuan felt a bit nauseated by this. No, what do you mean wiping your mouth after using the restroom? That is disgusting. This toilet paper has embossed patterns on it, with a rough surface. He then picked up another roll of paper. This one is meant for wiping your mouth. Its surface is smooth. So, these are two different types of paper. But rest assured, both types of paper are produced in a very clean process and are sterilized at high temperatures. But this paper disintegrates when wet. How do you wash it after use? Someone asked. Oh come on, you want to wash it? Just spare me. Zhang Xiaochuan quickly replied. This is disposable. You throw it away after use. You use a new one each time. Why would you wash it? Ah, disposable? That is such a waste. Zhang Xiaochuan continued to explain, with a roll like this in hand. If used in the restroom, one person would only need 2 to 3 rolls a month. At 10 coins per roll, that's just 30 coins. However, the experience is quite different. Whether there is a market for it, you can take some back to try. At this point, everyone nodded in agreement with what Zhang Xiaochuan said. He then tapped the microphone again and said, what I just presented was just an appetizer. The next item will be a game changer. Please don't blink, just watch. Zhang Xiaochuan clapped his hands and pointed to the left side of the venue. Everyone followed his gesture and saw an ordinary cart slowly approaching. Disappointment spread among the crowd, and someone directly commented, Mr. Zhang, I don't see anything special about this cart. Noticing their confusion, Zhang Xiaochuan reminded them, please look at the wheels. Only then did the crowd notice the difference in the wheels, and someone exclaimed in disbelief. Are these wheels made of steel? Why are the spokes so thin? And what is that black covering? Zhang Xiaochuan did not keep them guessing and explained. The wheels and the beams underneath are made of steel. However, someone raised a concern. But isn't steel prone to breaking or rusting? And wouldn't steel wheels be very bumpy? Zhang Xiaochuan replied, I understand you may have many questions, but to save time, let me finish my introduction first, and then you can ask. Hearing this, the crowd quieted down. At this point, the cart reached the stage, the horse was led away, and the cart's frame was lifted off. Zhang Xiaochuan walked to the cart, which now only had the wheels and base left, and pointed out, these are the wheels, and the black part is called a tire. Made from our latest material, rubber. It has excellent elasticity and provides great shock absorption. In simple terms, with this tire, you won't feel bumps from small pits at all. He continued, this is the shock absorber for the carriage, which looks like a bow, hence it's also called a bow-shaped board. It reduces bumps when the vehicle goes over larger potholes. Additionally, the entire base is made of steel, making it very sturdy and durable. It can withstand long journeys on rough roads without damage. Our motto is, one vehicle can last through 3 generations. As long as the person walks, the vehicle remains. He added, even though it's made of steel, thanks to the bearing technology we've incorporated, the added weight doesn't affect the vehicle's movement at all. In fact, it's even lighter than the original wooden wheels. The audience was left in awe by Zhang Xiaochuan's presentation, although many didn't fully understand. They grasped the advantages of this product. No bumps, durability, and lightness. Seeing that there were still doubts, Zhang Xiaochuan invited everyone to try riding the cart. Immediately, dozens of merchants came forward. Zhang Xiaochuan had several prepared carts brought out to carry everyone out of the factory. As they traveled on the concrete road, there was no bumpiness at all, nor the creaking sounds from wooden wheels. It was so quiet it felt like the cart was standing still. To demonstrate the cart's shock absorption, they deliberately left the concrete road and traveled onto a bumpy dirt road. As everyone looked at the bumpy dirt road, they instinctively reached for the carriage to maintain some cushioning between themselves and the vehicle to avoid discomfort from jolting. However, as the carriage rolled over the bumps and then landed, the ride was bumpy yet gentle. Compared to the jarring impacts of old-fashioned carriages, this slight bumpiness was almost negligible. When passing over small pits and hollows, the jolting even felt like a massage, and after a while, it surprisingly led to a sense of relaxation. After the carriage made a complete circle around the area and returned, the merchants who disembarked were full of admiration. Those waiting at the venue eagerly inquired about the experience. Upon hearing how amazing it was, everyone was eager to try it out. Zhang Xiaochuan had no choice but to arrange for a few more carriages, allowing everyone to give it a go. Once everyone had a ride and returned, the venue buzzed with discussions, all marveling at the wonders of the carriage. There was no need for Zhang Xiaochuan to introduce it further, as people hurriedly began to inquire about the pricing. He promptly shared the prices, which varied from dozens to hundreds based on tire size, shock absorption, and load capacity. Everyone was quite satisfied with these prices, recognizing a substantial profit margin, making it easy to double the price. Following that, Zhang Xiaochuan introduced stainless steel products, mainly including pots, bowls, and plates. Everyone was captivated by the shiny stainless steel items, finding them incredibly beautiful. Moreover, they were quite heavy in hand, comparable to fine silverware. The best part was that the price was only slightly higher than regular cast iron products, yet they would not rust, making them highly marketable. After introducing the stainless steel products, it was nearly lunchtime. Due to limited conditions, they prepared boxed meals, neatly arranged on the table for a self-service setup. Zhang Xiaochuan initially worried it might seem too humble, but to his surprise, the scene was even more lively than the product launch. It seemed that, for some time now, the Zhang family cafeteria had become a culinary hotspot in the southwest, and everyone had longed for a chance to try it, finally getting their wish today. A group of wealthy merchants arrived at the lunch buffet like workers who had toiled all day, each piling their plates higher than the last. Though they were usually refined and dignified individuals, they threw caution to the wind, driven by the delicious offerings, eagerly filling their plates with a little of this and a bit of that until they were overflowing. Seeing that the food was running low, Zhang Xiaochuan immediately called for more to be prepared. Since he also needed to prepare for the afternoon's presentation, he did not join the top 10 wealthy merchants for lunch. Among these merchants, some were heads of families, while others were key figures within their respective clans. Thus, there was no significant difference in status as they gathered to dine together. After some polite exchanges, they sat down and glanced at each other's heaping plates. The head of one prominent family, as a local tycoon, was the first to speak, jokingly saying, I didn't realize I had taken so much food. I might just burst after this meal, ha ha ha. Everyone laughed heartily, and another merchant chimed in. The Zhang family truly brings something new to everything. Just the aroma and color of the dishes are enough to make one salivate. At that moment, a stomach grumbled, catching everyone's attention and immediately provoking a round of laughter. The head of the Shi family then said, let's eat and chat, I'll start. With that, he reached for the braised pork he was most eager to try. And others followed suit. Delicious. The food from the Zhang family is truly remarkable. Even the restaurants can't compare. The speaker was the head of the Wang family from the Jiangnan region. Without waiting for a response, he continued, Our Wang family was specially invited by the Zhang family. I believe you all are here for the same reason. Everyone nodded in agreement. The Wang family head continued. It seems the Zhang family invited us not to put us in a difficult position, but once the products announced at this conference are launched, the Zhang family status in the business world will be unmistakable. Once their new products are released, it won't be long before they become the industry leader, and others will be relegated to subordinates. The head of the Deng family interjected. Are you suggesting that they invited us to establish dominance? He added. That's not necessarily the case. I'm just uncertain about their intentions in inviting us, which is why I'm bringing it up for discussion. The head of the Wei family remarked. I actually feel that the Zhang family inviting us this time could bring good news. I have a bit of anticipation. The head of the Deng family responded with a hint of despair. Sigh. I see no good news, given their pricing and production volume. It feels like a disaster for the Deng family. The Wei family head chuckled. Deng, you seem to be overlooking the grand vision of young Master Zhang. It's something we can hardly aspire to. I always felt that the rumors circulating outside are not unfounded. Young Master Zhang is like a celestial being, seemingly indifferent to our business concerns, merely using this opportunity to achieve his own goals. Seeing the Wei family head's certainty, the Deng family head asked, Why are you so sure about this, Wei family head? Unexpectedly, the Wei family head remained silent, wearing a mysterious smile. Let us just observe how things unfold. I sense something significant is about to happen. The Deng family head sighed. Well, something significant has already happened. The others, seeing the Deng family head's self-deprecating tone, joked around a bit. As they continued to eat and chat, they unknowingly finished an entire platter of food, feeling quite stuffed. The maid timely brought out the green tea produced by the Zhang family, which was a perfect palate cleanser. Although most of them had tasted this green tea before, they couldn't help but express their admiration again. Soon, it was time for the afternoon conference. On stage, there was an iron object with many pipes and holes. Zhang Xiaochuan walked over to the iron object, gently caressing it, as if it were a beautiful woman. He then introduced. I'm sure you're all curious about what this strange thing is for. Let me tell you, this is the heart, though not a human heart. It's the heart of a machine. The crowd was confused, speculating about what kind of machine it could be. Could it possibly be a celestial beast from the heavens, with a heart made of steel? It seemed that Zhang Xiaochuan truly had divine capabilities, even extracting the heart of a steel beast. If Zhang Xiaochuan knew what they were thinking at that moment, he would surely be speechless. How could they interpret his words in such a way? Although he knew they wouldn't understand him, he never imagined they would take it literally as a real heart. Zhang Xiaochuan continued, with this, we can create many things that improve production efficiency or travel speed. To give everyone a more intuitive experience, please follow me. The crowd followed Zhang Xiaochuan outside, where they unexpectedly found a row of large metal objects parked by the roadside. As he walked, Zhang Xiaochuan introduced, this is an excavator that can dig soil and mine. With one scoop, it can match the work of an adult for a whole day. This is a tractor, which can plow fields and transport food and goods, capable of cultivating dozens of acres in a day. This is a truck, used for transporting goods, with a capacity equivalent to dozens of horse-drawn carts. And it moves particularly fast. The crowd was captivated, though they found themselves confused by most of the information. Aside from recognizing that the tires had similarities to those of the horse-drawn carts introduced earlier. Despite many questions, they decided to observe first, having learned from the morning's lessons. When they reached an open area, Zhang Xiaochuan stopped and waved towards the metal objects they had passed. At that moment, the excavator roared to life and approached. The crowd watched in astonishment as this large machine began to move. As the excavator reached the open space, its massive arm with a shovel dug into the ground, quickly creating a large pit. The excavated soil was transported to the truck's compartment. In just a few scoops, the truck was filled. It appeared to hold at least several tons of soil, which was effortlessly carried away. After making a loop, the truck returned, and its compartment slowly lifted and tilted, dumping the soil onto the ground. The entire process took only about 10 minutes, but it was equivalent to what would have taken 20 people a full day's work using traditional methods. Although the crowd didn't fully understand the principles behind it, they could clearly see the capabilities of the machines, and it was impressive. Chapter 158. The new industrial park. Just as everyone was still in shock, the tractor came into play again, this time demonstrating plowing. The crowd was astonished once more. When they returned to the venue, they felt as if their minds had shrunk significantly. Everything that happened today felt like a dream. Looking at the engine in the center of the stage again, it seemed as if the heart of the machine had come to life, giving an inexplicable sense of pressure. Zhang Xiaochuan introduced the various functional vehicles and agricultural machines again. And this time, everyone understood. As for the prices, they were somewhat high, with the cheapest costing several dozen coins, and the most expensive nearly 1,000 coins. However, Zhang Xiaochuan assured them that these were estimated prices. The vehicles were just for display now, and would not be available for sale until a month later, when the prices would definitely be lower than the current estimates. Yet, Zhang Xiaochuan's impact on their minds was far from over. After the engine was removed, another metal object was brought up, and this time, everyone no longer underestimated it. Zhang Xiaochuan introduced, this is called a motor, which complements the engine and is primarily used in processing equipment. Knowing that a direct explanation would be hard for them to grasp, he led everyone to tour the machine processing workshop. A piece of iron was quickly transformed into the desired shape with just a couple of strikes. Then it was cut open, drilled, slotted, and polished as if it were tofu, resulting in a finished outer ring of a bearing. once assembled with other components. A complete bearing was presented before everyone. After witnessing this, everyone was even more astonished than when they saw the car earlier. Not to mention iron. Even ordinary wood could not be processed this smoothly. Therefore, everyone agreed that this machine must be acquired. Processing any ironware would become much easier. When asked about the price of the machine, Zhang Xiaochuan revealed a mysterious smile and apologetically said, "It's not that it's for sale, but it can't be sold directly. It needs to be customized according to your specific usage needs." Upon hearing this, everyone understood and began to contemplate what kind of machine they would require. Returning to the meeting area, everyone eagerly drank their tea to calm down. It was truly overwhelming. The head of the Shi family jokingly remarked, "Young Master Zhang, next time you have something good, you should take it out slowly. An old man like me might get too shocked and pass out." This remark elicited hearty laughter from everyone. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled and responded, "Even if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't do that again. It was exhausting, and I feel like my throat is about to smoke." Another wave of laughter followed, and once everyone had settled down a bit, Zhang Xiaochuan said, "Today I showcased so many amazing items. Any one of them could capture a share of the market, so I guess everyone is itching to get their hands on them." While some may have had similar thoughts, the virtues of the people prevailed, so no one took it as a joke. Instead, they felt Zhang Xiaochuan was being honest. However, there was someone with a different perspective. Camilla interjected, "Young Master Zhang, how did you see through my thoughts?" This candid admission made everyone feel more forthright. Although it expressed jealousy, it eased the awkwardness. Noticing that everyone was significantly impacted by the presentation, Zhang Xiaochuan decided to drop the jokes and return to the main topic. "What I showcase today can be ordered from me and sold for a substantial profit. But everyone knows I will earn even more from it. Frankly, that's inevitable." This statement lifted the atmosphere, and everyone quietly awaited what Zhang Xiaochuan would say next. He continued, "But if I were someone who wanted to keep everything to myself, I wouldn't be so high profile today. The product introduction is just one part of it. The second part is that I plan to establish an industrial park." After this announcement, he paused, expecting enthusiastic applause, but was met with dead silence. Just as Zhang Xiaochuan felt like he was experiencing a major social faux pas, Camilla, the astute businessman from the West, understood Zhang Xiaochuan's intention and interjected. "Young Master Zhang, means you want to partner with us to set up a workshop to produce these items you introduced today?" Zhang Xiaochuan was almost moved to tears. Finally, someone understood him, and he hadn't expected his confidant would be a foreigner. Without hesitation, he replied, "Yes." At this moment, the head of the Deng family excitedly asked, "What kind of cooperation are you envisioning?" Zhang Xiaochuan replied, "Please everyone, hold on for a moment. The cooperation plan is what I will discuss next. I have even prepared a booklet about this cooperation plan, so please help distribute it." As soon as he finished speaking, a servant came forward to distribute the booklets one by one. Everyone was eager to open the booklet, but was stopped by Zhang Xiaochuan. "Please don't rush to look at the booklet. There are too many terms inside to read through quickly. First, listen to my presentation." Once everyone's attention returned to him, he continued, "Our company plans to establish an industrial park in every region, starting with one industrial park in Jiangnan region, which will officially begin construction in 6 months. The second batch will include 3 industrial parks located in different regions, which will start construction in a year and a half. The third batch will cover the remaining regions and will begin construction in 3 years. Additionally, if any region is interested, they can collaborate to build a factory first, with only one factory construction quota available for each region." As soon as this was said, there was an uproar. If they could collaborate with the Zhang family to build a factory, any product would surely have great prospects, and they would definitely profit immensely. Everyone immediately began to shout and ask how to cooperate. Zhang Xiaochuan tapped the microphone, and the crowd gradually quieted down, waiting for him to speak. He stated, "As long as you have the capability, anyone can cooperate with us. The cooperation requirements mainly consist of 4 parts. First, the investment and equity share. The Zhang family will invest technology and hold 51 ownership, while the joining party will invest capital and hold 49 ownership. Second, the deposit. The joining party needs to pay a deposit to the Zhang family for construction and operation. For collaborating to establish an industrial park, the deposit is 1 million coins. For factory construction, it is 100,000 coins. Only copper coins or equivalent copper will be accepted, and any excess will not be refunded, while any shortfall must be made up. Third, the use of vouchers. All transactions in the parks and factories must use vouchers issued by our company. Fourth, labor contracts. All employees must sign labor contracts and cannot use servants. The details can be found in the booklet." As soon as Zhang Xiaochuan finished speaking, the head of the Wang family said, "Although the first 2 points are strict, they are understandable. However, what is this voucher mentioned in the third point? And how is it used? Also, the fourth point about not allowing the use of servants is hard to accept." After the head of the Wang family raised his questions, Zhang Xiaochuan quickly responded, "Before discussing the vouchers, let me first explain the labor contracts. While it seems like we are sharing our wealth with the workers, the actual goal is to expand the commercial market. Our products need buyers, and only by enabling more people to have purchasing power can we earn more profits." Zhang Xiaochuan initially intended to elaborate on some economic theories, but, unable to find the right words, he could only summarize. However, it seemed that these people did not quite understand. So, Zhang Xiaochuan gritted his teeth and stamped his foot, saying, "It's fine if you don't understand. To put it simply, the content in the booklet outlines the conditions. If you agree, we can cooperate." If you don't agree, I am also capable of building new parks on my own. It will just take a bit longer, and I will definitely not earn any less. As soon as Zhang Xiaochuan spoke, everyone's expressions became clear, a clarity that implied you are the boss. You are right. Indeed. Having absolute advantage means there's no need to reason. Being domineering is generally acceptable. Next, I will introduce the vouchers, and staff, please distribute the vouchers. At this moment, the attendant handed each person a booklet with several gilded characters on the cover. Voucher set. Below the large characters was a cartoon rabbit wearing a star-shaped cap. And beneath the rabbit was printed, produced by the Great Tang Technology Group Company, Limited. Upon receiving the booklet, everyone felt a sense of high quality just from the cover, which was made of thick matte cardstock with embossed printing, giving a raised texture when touched. Just as they were about to open it and continue reading, Zhang Xiaochuan's voice came through. Everyone has received the vouchers. Let me first explain their purpose, which I believe you are somewhat aware of. They serve as a substitute for copper coins and fabric for transactions between us. Now, please open the booklets in your hands. While speaking, Zhang Xiaochuan also opened his own booklet and took out a banknote printed with a corner value. He didn't have time to design a new style, so he directly copied a later banknote, only changing the totem to a rabbit wearing a cap, replacing the portrait with his own, and using famous mountains and rivers as the scenic backdrop. As everyone admired the exquisite design of the vouchers, Zhang Xiaochuan continued, there are 3 denominations of these vouchers. First, there are corners, with 10 corners equaling 1-1. The denominations available are 1 corner, 2 corners, and 5 corners. Next, we have wins, corresponding to the 1 when we commonly use, with denominations of 1-1, 2 wins, 5 wins, 10 wins, 20 wins, 50 wins, and 100 wins. Finally, there is the guan, which has only 1 denomination, 1 guan. All the attendees were merchants who dealt with money daily, and they immediately understood the denomination setup, which could be conveniently combined for various amounts for everyday purchases and was quite reasonable. It seemed these vouchers were not just for transactions between merchants, but intended for everyone's daily use. However, how could they be willing to treat these vouchers as currency? Wouldn't that mean they could print money? Indeed, Zhang Xiaochuan's next words confirmed everyone's suspicions. He continued, so, how can these vouchers be obtained and used? First, there are 2 ways to obtain them. One is to exchange them at the bank established by our Great Tang Technology Group, where we only accept quality copper coins or pure copper. The second is that when purchasing goods from our Great Tang Technology Group, vouchers will be used for payment. So you can keep the vouchers to buy goods from us. If you don't need to purchase goods from our Great Tang Technology Group or have surplus vouchers, you can take them to our bank to exchange them for copper coins. If major businesses accept vouchers during retail, they will be considered strategic partners of our Great Tang Technology Group, enjoying a 10% discount when sourcing from us. And if our goods are insufficient, strategic partners will have unlimited priority purchasing rights. Upon hearing this, everyone found the 10% discount very attractive, and the most important part was the priority purchase right. The products from the Zhang family were always in high demand and sold in limited quantities. Without the priority purchase right, one would likely have to buy from others at a much higher price. This was an open scheme. If you wanted to benefit from the Zhang family, you had to follow their rules. As for trying to use force, even a military leader with a large army would return empty-handed, although powerful families were behind them. Who could rival the military? Therefore, everyone had no choice but to cooperate with the Zhang family obediently. However, someone raised a question, young Master Zhang. What if someone forges this voucher and we receive it? Who bears the loss? Zhang Xiaochuan replied without hesitation, of course, it would be your own loss. I know everyone might think that the Zhang family is being too overbearing. People murmured to themselves, thinking it was indeed too overbearing. Zhang Xiaochuan continued. Let me introduce our vouchers in detail. If anyone can produce a counterfeit that is 50 similar, I will take back what I just said. Firstly, this voucher is printed in full color, and even black and white printing is challenging at the moment. I believe it won't be easily replicated. Secondly, the voucher is made from special paper that is wear-resistant, wrinkle-resistant, and waterproof. If you flick its edge, it makes a rustling sound, and if soaked in water, it remains tough and won't shrink or deform after drying. Thirdly, the ink used is special. It doesn't run when wet and changes color in sunlight. Fourthly, all text is printed using silkscreen techniques, giving it a raised texture. Fifthly, the portraits use steel stamping technology, creating fine and uniform granular patterns. Sixthly, each voucher has a unique encrypted number. Seventhly, there is a watermark in the blank area, visible when held up to the light. Eighthly, the phrase produced by the Great Tang Technology Group is handwritten. Ninthly, there is no ninth point. For now, these are all the anti-counterfeiting features we have. Zhang Xiaochuan spoke clearly, allowing everyone to hear him well. Many pulled out a voucher to verify it according to his description, and with each verification, their surprise grew. In the end, who would even attempt to forge it? Who had the ability to forge something so exquisite? It felt like a work of art. Aside from the usual denominations, I wouldn't even trade it for copper coins of equal value. At this point, there were no more voices of doubt. Some were already bewildered, raising the booklet containing the vouchers and asking, this is too exquisite. Young Master Zhang, how much for a set? I want to buy it. How much for a set? Zhang Xiaochuan was momentarily taken aback. He initially wanted to say that the price wasn't set yet, but suddenly realized that these vouchers had denominations. He almost got sidetracked. Chapter 160. Million orders in response to the merchant who asked how the vouchers were sold. Zhang Xiaochuan smiled wryly and said, "The vouchers can be exchanged for copper coins of equivalent denominations. The total value in everyone's hands is 1,189 coins. To commemorate the issuance of the vouchers today, each of you is receiving them courtesy of our technology group. And this set of vouchers has collectible value because they all have special serial numbers." Upon realizing that they were free, the merchant exclaimed, "Young Master Zhang is truly generous. For this set of vouchers, I would gladly pay 10 times the price, and how could I possibly spend them once I take them home?" Seeing the enthusiasm from the other party, Zhang Xiaochuan laughed heartily. "Make sure to keep this set well. If you want to spend them, you can exchange them at our bank tomorrow." "Great. I'll definitely be the first to exchange them tomorrow," the merchant replied. Just as Zhang Xiaochuan was about to return to discussing the collaborative construction of the park, the lights suddenly turned on. It was already evening, and the venue had started to dim. The sudden brightness startled everyone, especially those seeing electric lights for the first time, who marveled and exclaimed, "What is this? How can it be so bright, like the sun?" Zhang Xiaochuan explained, "This is an incandescent lamp powered by electricity." Everyone thought about how bright it would be to have such lights at night, and someone asked, "Can this lamp be sold?" Zhang Xiaochuan replied, "The lamp can be sold. But if you buy it alone, you won't be able to use it without an electricity system." Not giving up, the person continued, "Can the electricity system be sold? How would that work?" Well, that question caught me off guard, but Zhang Xiaochuan quickly thought of using the electricity system as leverage. He said, "The electricity system won't be sold separately, but if you establish a strategic partnership with my family, we can assist in setting up the electricity system." At that moment, a merchant immediately jumped up, "I want to establish a strategic partnership with your family. What should I do?" Before Zhang Xiaochuan could respond, a second and then a third merchant expressed their interest in collaboration. Zhang Xiaochuan tapped the microphone to signal for quiet before saying, "Everyone, please don't rush. Since the electricity system is still in its early stages, we can't set it up for everyone all at once, so we need to plan the specifics. Rest assured, we will do it as soon as possible." The conversation then returned to the collaboration manual, where many questions were raised, and Zhang Xiaochuan answered each one. Due to time constraints, there would definitely not be enough time today to place orders or discuss cooperation, so they only interpreted the content clauses. Once most of the content was explained, the press conference successfully concluded. Afterward, Zhang Xiaochuan felt utterly exhausted. His legs were numb from standing. All he wanted was to go home, take a shower, and sleep, postponing all meeting requests to the next day. Many merchants felt similarly drained. They had been bombarded with one novel idea after another, keeping their minds in a state of excitement. Only after it ended did they realize they had been sitting there all day, and their backsides felt like they weren't even their own anymore. The merchants all stayed at the Villa Hotel in the new village at night. Currently, over 500 villas have been converted into hotels, with nearly half of them transformed. And a new wall has been built between them and the villas where the villagers reside. In this era, there are neither streetlights nor brightly lit neighborhoods at night. So once darkness falls, everything falls into silence. However, this silence is broken as the sky begins to brighten, with fast horses galloping out from the Zhang family in all directions, and pigeons flying out as well. This is how the merchants attending the conference notify their families, hoping they can quickly authorize decisions to negotiate cooperation with the Zhang family. Meanwhile, those small merchants who can make decisions are calling on friends to borrow money, as they are determined to place substantial orders, confident that the products will be bestsellers. For this ordering phase of the conference, Zhang Xiaochuan prepared product manuals, contracts, and a team of professional salespeople in advance. He also divided the products into different groups, with each group responsible for ordering a specific type of product. Although glass, monosodium glutamate, and ironware were not introduced at the conference, they were still included in the orders. Each product was displayed in its own area, with 4 or 5 salespeople nearby to provide introductions, creating a scene reminiscent of a small trade fair. Today, in addition to the merchants who attended the conference yesterday, there were also some new arrivals, making the venue crowded and lively. From the feedback at the scene, Zhang Xiaochuan knew that the orders would surely be substantial. But he did not expect that by the end of the day, the orders for toilet paper would be the most explosive, with orders already lined up for 6 months in advance. This was mainly because these merchants, staying at the Zhang family's hotel, had used the toilets and toilet paper, which provided an experience incomparable to anything else, leading them to confidently order large quantities, believing it would surely become a hard currency in the future. If it weren't for Zhang Xiaochuan stating that they could only reserve production capacity for up to 6 months, the order volume could have easily doubled. Additionally, there was an unexpected hit at the ordering conference, infant formula. The factory had just successfully trial-produced a batch, and Zhang Xiaochuan took the opportunity to display it, not intending to sell it. However, once attendees saw the formula, they were intrigued by the prospect of it being directly mixed with milk, which was a rarity. They wanted to taste it, and once they did, the reaction was overwhelming. The milk produced was rich in flavor, devoid of any off-putting odors, and pleasantly sweet. Although ancient times did not emphasize vitamins and trace elements, everyone knew that milk was a premium supplement. Previously, due to the lack of milk and challenges in preservation, it had been hard to come by. Now that both issues had been resolved, there was no hesitation. Everyone wanted to buy. However, as the demand grew, they had to resort to pre-sales, considering they still needed to keep some for personal use, and that it was winter with very low milk production. The first batch of infant formula would not start shipping until 3 months later, and even then, it would still be in short supply. By the end of the day, the order volume reached a staggering 1,000,000 units, and most suppliers were willing to establish strategic partnerships with the Zhang family, using vouchers in their daily transactions. The first cooperation for the construction of a new industrial park has also been reached, since the head of the Jiangnan Wang family personally attended. They approached Zhang Xiaochuan the day after the press conference, accepting all of Zhang Xiaochuan's conditions and even voluntarily increasing the deposit to 2 million. The only requirement was to start construction 3 months in advance. Today, 10,000 in vouchers have also been exchanged, with 80,000 being used as a deposit, which has returned to the Zhang family. It seems that this 80,000 hasn't changed hands, but in reality, it has. In the morning, those 80,000 in vouchers were still paper, but after this transaction, they now have an equivalent amount in copper coins stored in the treasury, meaning the vouchers can now be used as cash. Initially, everyone used the vouchers to cooperate with the Zhang family, but as time passed, the convenience and value retention of the vouchers made business even better. Why are the vouchers considered valuable? In ancient times, apart from the coins officially minted, many were privately produced, often mixed with cheaper metals. Despite repeated prohibitions by the authorities, low-quality coins continued to circulate, but they could only be used at a discount during transactions. Due to class issues, it was often the common people who suffered from the circulation of low-quality coins, as the gentry and merchants would use them to pay ordinary citizens. Being a vulnerable group, the common people could only accept this without resistance. However, when they tried to use these low-quality coins to purchase goods, merchants would claim they were inferior and demand a discount. In contrast, the vouchers have no inferior quality because no one can counterfeit them, and they are exquisitely made, so when common people work for others or sell goods to merchants, they prefer to be paid with vouchers. Of course, these are matters for later. Chapter 161. The situation is exposed. Zhang Yu has been feeling quite troubled these past few days. Initially, the increased tariffs and restrictions on the Zhang family's goods were effective, leading to a standstill of their transport teams throughout the Jinan region. However, complaints arose within 3 days because the increased tariffs affected other merchants, while the Zhang family's goods had to be transported by themselves, without any delivery responsibility. Naturally, the tax burden fell on whoever held the goods. These merchants were backed by wealthy clans, and although their complaints did not reach Zhang Yu, the local officials responsible for implementing these measures suffered. They found themselves unable to work, dealing with complaints from both gentry and clan elders. Just as they managed to calm one, another would come with grievances, and the continuous complaints from their subordinates added to the pressure. After finally settling everything, coming home did not bring peace either, as the ladies were eagerly awaiting the arrival of glass mirrors. To their dismay, they were informed not only of a price increase but also of a shortage in stock. Upon inquiry, they learned that raw materials had been confiscated by the authorities, halting production, which kept the household in unrest. The local officials could no longer bear the pressure and began writing letters to Zhang Yu. What kind of situation have you created? It has provoked public outrage, and I cannot carry this out. If you are dissatisfied, feel free to impeach me. As a result, Zhang Yu's desk was piled high with documents from various regions. Flipping through a few, he grew increasingly frustrated. It seemed that this strategy had backfired, and the mounting grievances could potentially lead to his own impeachment. As expected, that evening, someone sent a pigeon letter from a certain official warning Zhang Yu not to act recklessly. Many people in the court were already criticizing his erratic governance. Although this was suppressed, the emperor still issued a reprimand, and the decree was already on its way. However, it wasn't all bad news, as the official also informed him that the imperial decree for the requisition of the Zhang family's formula was en route. Zhang Yu had no choice but to endure and wait like a turtle until the decree arrived to deal with the Zhang family. The situation was even more troubling for Yang Xuanxia. Initially, after Yang Yuhuan was taken in, everything seemed to be going smoothly for him. But now, Yang Yuhuan had been missing for 7 or 8 days without a trace. With the wedding date with Li Zhao approaching, he was at a loss for what to do. Just when Yang Xuanxia was feeling frustrated, the steward reported that a letter sent by Yang Yuhuan had been returned. Upon receiving the letter, Yang Xuanxia was furious to discover that this girl had already secretly pledged herself to Zhang Xiaochuan from the Zhang family in Shu Prefecture and had even written to ask him to help her elope. This was utterly outrageous and seemed destined to ruin the Yang family. After calming down a bit, he remembered that the recipient was Pei Rou, who was Yang Zhao's wife. It turned out that the couple had helped Yang Yuhuan escape. Furious, Yang Xuanxia stormed over to Yang Zhao's residence and kicked the door open, shouting, "Get out here, you scoundrel!" Although the Yang family was a fallen clan, they still valued their status and maintained a demeanor of elegance and propriety in their interactions. Yang Xuanxia's outburst and door-kicking clearly showed how angry he was. In recent days, Yang Zhao had mixed feelings. The good news was that he had gotten close to Princess Yuzhen and was planning to delay proposing the idea of presenting treasures to the emperor. The bad news was that those sent to search for Yang Yuhuan had already reached Shu Prefecture without any leads, and there was no sign of her at all. Unlike today, travel in ancient times was not convenient. There were only 2 main routes to Jiannan, and other paths required crossing mountains and valleys, which ordinary people could not traverse. As he was deep in thought, he heard Yang Xuanxia's angry shouts. He immediately understood the situation. It was likely that Yang Xuanxia had discovered Yang Yuhuan's departure was related to Pei Rou. He hurried to meet him, kneeling on the ground without waiting for Yang Xuanxia to explode in anger, saying, "My nephew has concealed the matter of Yunu's departure. Please punish me, uncle. Although Yang Zhao's attitude was sincere, Yang Xuanxia was still furious. He kicked Yang Zhao to the ground, and then reluctantly walked to the main hall to sit down. He shouted, "Come in and speak." At that moment, Pei Rou also came out to help Yang Zhao, who, after getting up, looked remorseful. Yang Xuanxia didn't want to blame him further and asked Yang Zhao to explain what he knew. Yang Zhao recounted the whole story and emphasized that he had already arranged for people to search for Yang Yuhuan, but there were still no leads. Yang Xuanxia scolded him. Although you didn't assist in Yunu's elopement, you were aware and didn't report it. Do you know how serious this would be if the royal house found out? Although Yang Zhao came from a rough background, he was still very loyal and righteous. He didn't say that Pei Rou had deceived him. Instead, he silently accepted the blame for not reporting what he knew. However, it was essential to first calm Yang Xuanli. He said, "What you said is very true, uncle. It is indeed my fault for not understanding the situation upon arriving in the capital. I am now aware of the gravity of the matter." Hearing Yang Zhao's words, Yang Xuanli remained angry and retorted, "What do you know? Sai, that girl Yunu is alone out there, and you have no leads along the way. What if something unexpected happens? What are we to do?" "Uncle need not worry. Although we haven't found Yunu yet, there hasn't been any bad news either. Perhaps she just took a wrong turn. Besides, she is bound for Shuzhou, and I have asked friends in that area to keep watch. As long as she is on the road to Shuzhou, we will surely be able to find her." Even though Yang Zhao's arrangements were quite appropriate, Yang Xuanli still felt he should go himself, so he chided, "I think you still don't understand the seriousness of this. If you really knew, why are you still in the capital? How can such a matter be left to others?" Yang Zhao was momentarily at a loss for words. "If I were to tell you that I didn't go look for Yunu myself because I was busy trying to sleep with the princess, I'm afraid it would shock and infuriate you to death." So he fabricated a response. "Uncle, I have important matters to attend to in the capital right now, so I cannot go out. I hope you understand." Yang Xuanli thought to himself, "You, a soldier, have somehow struck it rich and come to the capital. And you really think you are something special with your important matters? Who would believe that?" Thinking this, he spoke unkindly. "What important matters do you have? Finding Yunu right now is the most important matter of all." Yang Zhao quickly agreed. Yes, you are right, uncle. I will prepare to set off and look for Yunu right away." Yang Xuanli was also frustrated. After talking with Yang Zhao, he knew it wasn't his fault, and there was no point in arguing further. Besides, it would be of little use for him to go now. It would be better for him to go himself. So he said, "Fine, if there is any news, inform me immediately. I will return home now and take people to Shuzhou." Seeing that the matter was settled, Yang Zhao breathed a sigh of relief. Although Yang Guozhong was not a good person in history, he was definitely a good husband. After Yang Xuanli left, he didn't utter a single complaint about Pei Rou, but instead comforted her a few times. Chapter 162, Supreme 9-Star Dragon Pearl in the Daming Palace. A beautiful woman dressed in Western noble attire was walking gracefully toward the Zikan Hall. Without waiting for an announcement, she directly entered the study of the Zikan Hall. At this moment, Li Longji was reading official documents when he was suddenly captivated by the sight of a beautiful woman in a snow-white gown with golden edges. The inner bodice accentuated a deep cleavage, and this novel outfit immediately piqued his interest. Upon seeing her face, he realized it was none other than his sister, Princess Yuzhen. "You haven't come to see your brother in a while, have you? This outfit looks lovely today, much better than your usual robe. Have you decided to return to the palace to live?" Princess Yuzhen quickly interrupted, "Don't busy yourself with that. I have no intention of returning to secular life. I simply like this new outfit very much, so I haven't changed out of it. I still prefer living in the temple." Li Longji felt a bit disappointed. "It's a pity that my brother was left to be happy for nothing. Your attire is quite novel. I wonder where you got it. I'll send someone to find a set for Huir to wear. It will surely be stunning. I really don't know. I'll ask the person who presented it and report back to my brother. That would be good." Saying this, Li Longji set down the memorial in his hand, stood up, and walked over to Princess Yuzhen, saying, "It's rare for you to come. Accompany me for a walk outside." Princess Yuzhen agreed, and the two of them went outside. Li Longji hesitantly asked, "Sister, have you grown taller? You seem even more graceful, but how is that possible?" Seeing Li Longji's slightly confused expression, Princess Yuzhen chuckled, "Brother, you're a bit slow to react. You just noticed I've grown taller." Upon hearing Princess Yuzhen admit she had grown taller, Li Longji quickly asked, "At your age, it shouldn't be possible to grow taller. How did you do it? Is it some magical elixir or a spell?" Princess Yuzhen smiled slightly. "Neither, it's the crystal shoes." As she spoke, she lifted her skirt, revealing a pair of shiny high-heeled crystal shoes. Li Longji felt a bit disappointed to hear it was just a pair of shoes. But seeing such exquisite shoes brightened his mood. "Are these shoes part of the same set as your clothes and headdress?" "Exactly. Aren't they beautiful?" "They are beautiful, and wearing these shoes makes one feel taller. You must quickly ask the person who gifted you this outfit." All right, I see you're eager, brother." Li Longji smiled, but didn't continue that line of conversation. Instead, he asked, "You usually don't come without a reason. What do you need from me?" "It's a good thing. Someone wants to present a treasure to you, brother. I saw this person's sincerity and helped them ask for a favor, hoping they could see your esteemed face." Li Longji was slightly surprised that someone would go out of their way to present a treasure and even sought Princess Yuzhen's help. However, as a ruler, he had many people trying to curry favor with him, and if it were an ordinary person, he wouldn't give them this privilege, thinking he was easy to meet. So he asked, "Who is this person, and what treasure do they want to present?" Princess Yuzhen replied, "This person is the one who gave me this outfit. I call it a princess dress. She then giggled. This is a princess dress. Brother, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to give it to the imperial concubine. Li Longji knew Yuzhen was teasing him but wasn't annoyed. Instead, he laughed heartily. Then I'll have someone make an imperial concubine dress. Please continue. Yes. This person is named Yang Zhao, a descendant of the Yang family from Hongnou. A few years ago, he served in the military in the Shu region and said he has a treasure he wants to present to your majesty. As for what it is, he seems mysterious but confident, so it shouldn't disappoint you. Plus, you can inquire about the origin of this princess dress. Li Longji nodded. He would certainly give face to his sister, especially with the princess dress involved. He said, tomorrow, I will host a banquet at Huaiyue Xianghui Pavilion. You can bring that person along. Yang Zhao dressed meticulously today, checking himself repeatedly before heading out, arriving early to wait outside Huaiyue Xianghui Pavilion. The Flowering Eves Pavilion is renowned as the finest building in the world, and it has an interesting backstory. Initially, Li Longji helped his father, Li Dan, seize the throne and was supposed to establish his eldest son, Li Xian, as the crown prince. However, due to Li Xian's modest character and the fact that Li Longji assisted in the coup, Li Xian repeatedly declined the position, which led to Li Longji being named crown prince instead. After ascending to the throne, Li Longji, cherishing the bond with his brothers, built the Flowering Eves Pavilion in Xingqing Palace, where they could play music, dine, drink, play chess, and enjoy gifts of gold and silk together. Li Longji even crafted long pillows and large quilts to share the bed with his brothers. Due to the pavilion's unique location, one side adjacent to a street and the other to Xingqing Palace, it gradually evolved into a cultural and artistic center for large entertainment activities within Chang'an, and a place where Emperor Xuanzong, Li Longji, could celebrate with the common people and share joy. Yang Zhao did not wait long before being led into the Flowering Eves Pavilion by a servant. Upon entering this grand building for the first time, he was immediately struck by its towering magnificence. After passing through a corridor and several small doors, he found himself at the base of the pavilion, feeling somewhat disoriented. The servant, noticing Yang Zhao's daze, was not annoyed, as most newcomers would be overwhelmed. After a brief pause, the servant urged Yang Zhao to follow, and he finally regained his composure. The interior was splendid, dazzling to the eyes and leaving one in a state of awe. Since Princess Yuzhen had already met with Yang Zhao the previous day and briefed him on what to expect, the servant took him directly to the third floor. After announcing him, Yang Zhao finally met the highest authority of the Tang dynasty and quickly knelt down, bowing his head and shouting for long life. Li Longji originally intended for Yang Zhao to present something at the banquet, but was also somewhat skeptical, thinking he was a person who enjoyed creating an air of mystery. If it weren't for Princess Yuzhen's insistence, he might not have even considered meeting him. Thus, he arranged to see him before the banquet, to dismiss him if he did not present something satisfactory. Initially, Li Longji had a poor impression of Yang Zhao, considering him an unknown figure trying to be mysterious with someone as prominent as himself. However, as he observed Yang Zhao's tall stature and handsome appearance, his negative feelings diminished, and he felt a surge of goodwill. Li Longji gestured for him to rise, saying, "Please, get up and speak." Yang Zhao was overwhelmed by the emperor's powerful presence and felt extremely nervous. Hearing the emperor's instruction to stand, he managed to rise with difficulty and expressed his gratitude, saying, "Thank you, your majesty." Li Longji nodded and inquired, "I hear from Princess Yuzhen that you wish to see me?" Yang Zhao bowed and replied, "Yes. A commoner has obtained a treasure in Shu, and I am grateful for your majesty's awe-inspiring authority that has brought peace and prosperity, allowing us commoners to live in stability and abundance. Thus, I wish to present this treasure to your majesty." Yang Zhao, not being particularly eloquent, felt he had exhausted all his known phrases in those few sentences. Li Longji was pleased and nodded, asking, "What is this treasure?" Instead of hastily presenting it, Yang Zhao requested, "Your majesty, may I tell you a story before presenting my gift?" Li Longji thought that refusing him would make him appear petty and greedy for the treasure, so he replied, "Very well, go ahead." Zhang Xiaochuan's legend of the Dragon Pearl has spread remarkably in the region. Even the imitations are claimed to be genuine. Yang Zhao, familiar with this tale, decided to share it with the emperor. Yang Zhao is clever and articulate, and his storytelling captivated Li Longji. When he finished, Li Longji, slightly disappointed, remarked, "Unfortunately, as the supreme ruler, I have yet to obtain a Dragon Pearl." Yang Zhao seized the moment, kneeling and holding a box above his head, saying, "The treasure I have is the supreme 9-star Dragon Pearl. I dare not keep it for myself and have come to present it to your majesty." Li Longji stood up in surprise. "What? There really is a Dragon Pearl?" At that moment, Gao Lisher hurriedly took the brocade box from Yang Zhao and presented it to Li Longji. Upon opening the box, Li Longji's eyes widened in amazement as a transparent glass ball, the size of a soccer ball, came into view, with 9 dark red pentagrams shimmering inside. Li Longji excitedly held the Dragon Pearl in both hands, bringing it closer, and as the light hit the pearl, it sparkled, exuding an air of nobility and mystery. However, such a large glass ball was heavy, and Li Longji felt his hands grow tired. He wanted to place it back in the box and noticed there was a wooden stand at the bottom, which Gao Lisher was instructed to retrieve. This was clearly designed for displaying the Dragon Pearl. Li Longji gazed at the pearl on the table, unable to contain his excitement, exclaiming, "Wonderful! Yang Zhao has made a great contribution and shall be rewarded." Yang Zhao immediately expressed his gratitude. Princess Yuzhen, feeling a bit envious, remarked. I wondered why it was so mysterious. Turns out it's such a fine treasure. If I had known earlier, it wouldn't have gone to you, brother. Li Longji, aware that Princess Yuzhen was joking, smiled and said, Yuzhen has also made a significant contribution and shall be rewarded as well. She replied, thank you, brother. But I want to choose my reward. Very well. After the excitement, Li Longji regained his composure and said, Yang Zhao, your loyalty is commendable. But I still have my doubts. Why would you offer such a treasure to me? Yang Zhao delivered the excuse he had prepared. Your Majesty, please observe this pearl. It contains 9 pentagrams, which represent the supreme ruler. Even if it were rare, I lack the fortune to keep it safe, and might even invite danger. It is better to present it to your Majesty, as it is mutually beneficial. 9 represents the supreme dragon pearl, Li Longji murmured, then declared loudly. Well said. I will not take this treasure for nothing. What wishes do you have? Yang Zhao recognized his opportunity and said, I sincerely wish to serve the country. But I find myself lacking a path. Upon hearing that Yang Zhao sought an official position, Li Longji responded without hesitation. I have heard you once served in the military in the region, why not? However, when Yang Zhao realized the emperor was about to offer him a military post, which was not what he desired, he quickly interjected while the emperor was still contemplating the reward. Your Majesty, I am actually skilled in financial management and have some understanding of arithmetic. Upon hearing this, Li Longji said, since you do not wish to be a military officer and are skilled in mathematics, then let's have you temporarily serve as an official in the Ministry of Revenue. Yang Zhao quickly knelt down to express his gratitude. Thank you for your grace, Your Majesty. Although the position in the Ministry of Revenue was only of a low rank, it was a substantial role within the ministry, marking a good start for him. Li Longji chatted with Yang Zhao for a while, inquiring about the origin of the princess's dress. Yang Zhao mentioned that it was designed by a friend from a certain region and that he could reach out later to request another set to present to the emperor. Li Longji was quite satisfied. At that moment, Gao Lisher reminded him that the banquet was about to begin. So Li Longji invited Yang Zhao to join him for the feast, leaving Yang Zhao feeling both honored and surprised. Upon arriving at the banquet hall, Li Longji went straight to the main seat, while Yang Zhao was led by an attendant to a seat further back. The nobles and ministers present all stood up to pay their respects, chanting Long live the emperor. Li Longji raised his hand and gestured for everyone to be at ease. Gentlemen, please be seated. Today is a casual gathering. There's no need for formalities. After another round of cheers thanking the emperor, everyone took their seats. Without waiting for Li Longji's cue, Yang Huai confidently stood up from his seat, walked to the center, and bowed, saying, Your Majesty, the song and dance performance is ready for your approval. Li Longji was delighted, in a good mood, and looking forward to the performance. He replied, Then let the dance commence, and everyone enjoy the feast. Everyone raised their cups and shouted in agreement. As the first cup was finished, toasts began to be exchanged. At that moment, a unique and lively piece of music began to play, with a rhythm that gave off a bold and carefree feeling. This tune was entirely unfamiliar to the audience. Those who had never heard it before were curious about what it was, while those who had heard it looked perplexed. In any case, everyone except Li Longji and Yang Huai appeared to have strange expressions. However, this catchy song, known for its blend of folk dance and karaoke appeal, had a magical effect. As the simple and straightforward lyrics were sung, people gradually got into the groove, unconsciously tapping their feet along. They stopped drinking and quietly listened to the song, and just as they were left wanting more, the song ended and Yang Huai was preparing to play the next track. Li Longji interrupted, saying, Play it again. Yang Huai had no choice but to arrange for a replay. As the second round began, Li Longji couldn't help but join in, singing louder and with more enthusiasm. Seeing the emperor singing, Li Linfu quickly followed suit, and when the other nobles noticed both the emperor and the chancellor singing, they eagerly joined in as well. Such scenes were common in the Tang dynasty, whether in the streets or in the palace. When drinking and enjoying music, everyone would sing along. Thus, the banquet hall in Huaiwei Xianghui Tower became quite lively. Just singing wasn't enough. With such a rhythmic song, no one could resist moving a little. So, everyone got up, and the center stage transformed into a large karaoke venue. It must be said that singing and swaying to the music felt invigorating, as if it opened up new energy pathways. Li Longji felt rejuvenated, and the song played 3 times before finally stopping, mainly because the emperor was tired from dancing. Yang Hui was afraid of continuing the replay and quickly stepped forward to suggest other songs. Li Longji waved his hand and said to move on to the next song. The next piece was Norwegian Forest by teacher Wu Bai, which was equally powerful. Li Longji was raising his cup and drinking with everyone, saying that today's singing was quite enjoyable. Unexpectedly, the second song was just as captivating, and Li Longji and the others gradually became immersed in it, leading to another round of singing and dancing. After finishing the song and sitting down again, they raised their cups to drink once more. Li Longji was very pleased and asked Yang Hui to pause the music, then addressed the crowd. Everyone, I have obtained a treasure today that I would like to share with you. As the saying goes, when one has a treasure, it should be displayed, otherwise, it would be like wearing splendid clothes at night without anyone seeing, which is meaningless. Li Linfu, sitting closest to the emperor, immediately chimed in. If it has caught your majesty's eye, it must be no ordinary treasure. Li Longji was very satisfied with this loyal supporter, but humbly replied, Li Xiang, you flatter me, but let me keep you in suspense for a moment. How about I tell you a story first? With the Emperor's permission to tell a story, Li Linfu quickly said, I am all ears. The crowd echoed, we are all ears. Li Longji waved his hand. It's just a little story, no need to be so formal, relax a bit. He then called out, where's Yang Zhao? Upon hearing his name, Yang Zhao quickly stood up and replied, I am here. Li Longji said, come to the stage and recount the legend of the Dragon Pearl for everyone. Yang Zhao realized this was his moment to shine. The Emperor wanted him to take the spotlight today. Chapter 164. The whereabouts of Yang Yuhuan. Yang Zhao walked to the center of the stage and vividly retold the legend of the Dragon Pearl. Once he finished, everyone was deeply captivated by the story and marveled that obtaining this Dragon Pearl would require immense fortune. Li Longji watched with satisfaction and signaled to Gao Lisher beside him. Gao Lisher understood immediately and quickly brought the Dragon Pearl to the center of the stage. This time, it was not placed in a box but on a stand, covered with red silk cloth. Li Longji also stood up and joined Gao Lisher on stage, while Yang Zhao wisely stepped aside. Everyone held their breath, looking at the round object covered by the red silk cloth, and unconsciously thought of two words, Dragon Pearl, although they had already guessed what it might be and had some expectations. When Li Longji lifted the red cloth to reveal a glass dragon pearl the size of a soccer ball, everyone was still astonished. The dim indoor lighting made the glass dragon pearl appear even more mysterious. They felt an inexplicable sense of awe, recognizing that this was undoubtedly a priceless treasure. Just as everyone was still in shock, Li Linfu was the first to regain his composure and immediately began to flatter. Congratulations, Your Majesty, on acquiring such a precious treasure, which clearly demonstrates your wisdom and martial prowess, winning the hearts of the people. Only someone with such great fortune as Your Majesty could possess this treasure. Only then did the crowd react, and they all began to congratulate him. Li Linfu set an example by kneeling before the Emperor and exclaiming, Our Emperor's wisdom and martial prowess have won the hearts of the world. It is by heaven's decree and great fortune that this treasure has appeared, a good omen for this glorious era. The other dignitaries followed suit, showering praises and shouting long live the Emperor. Nowadays, Li Longji is quite ambitious, holding the supreme dragon orb and feeling immensely pleased as he listens to the praises from his subjects. With a grand gesture, he declares, having obtained this treasure is in accordance with the will of heaven. Let us celebrate with a grand feast for 3 days. Li Linfu immediately agrees. Your Majesty is wise. The crowd echoes in unison. Your Majesty is wise. At this moment, on a passenger boat sailing from the south to the north along the Min River, 2 young girls disguised as boys are whispering to each other. My lady, I'm hungry. Call me your lord. I'm hungry too, but we really have no money left. The girl who first complained of hunger says, My lady, don't you still have that treasure box? Just take something out from it. It would be enough. Enough for what? These are all gifts from Xiaochuan to me. And besides, one should not reveal their wealth. Have you forgotten how we lost the money from selling the horses? It turns out these two are none other than the long-missing Yang Yuhuan and her maid, Xiaoyan. They left Chang'an and headed toward Shu. But due to their unfamiliarity with the roads, they made many stops along the way. Although they were riding horses, they only reached Zinkingfu, which is modern-day Hanzhong, when they were caught up by someone sent by Yang Zhao. Fortunately, they noticed their pursuers in advance and changed their route. Originally, they were supposed to enter Shu by traveling southwest from Zinkingfu to Jianzhou, present-day Guanyuan, and then passing through Jianmen Pass. However, with the change of route, they headed south through the Maikong Mountain and Maikong Road, reaching Bazhou, modern-day Bazhou. From Bazhou, they could have turned west to enter Shu, but not knowing the way and fearing being chased, they inadvertently continued south and ended up in Yuzhou, modern-day Chongqing. The most direct route from Yuzhou to Yizhou would be to head northwest by land, but Yang Yuhuan worried that if they took the Jianmen Pass route, their pursuers might not be able to catch up, so they decided to sell their horses and travel by boat. In reality, Yang Yuhuan was overthinking it. Yang Zhao had arranged for someone to pursue them via Maikong Mountain, but upon reaching Bazhou, that person changed direction westward. Who would have thought she would continue south? Yang Yuhuan's trajectory effectively went from the northernmost part of Jian South Road around to the southeast corner before heading north, making a half-circle around Jian South Road. Consequently, while selling their horses, they caught someone's attention, and after paying for the boat fare, the remaining money mysteriously vanished. Now, the two of them have been hungry on the boat for 2 days. The passenger boat from Yuzhou to Yizhou moves slowly, making frequent stops. And when everyone on board feels bored, they gather to chat. Yang Yuhuan and Xiao Lian usually avoid the crowd, but now, due to their hunger, they join the group, hoping for some kindness. However, feeling shy about speaking up, they listen intently as someone begins to tell a story. The story recounts a recent occurrence in Shu, where a steel monster has appeared, capable of splitting mountains and rocks, making a thunderous sound when it breathes, and even swallowing clouds and exhaling mist. The passengers on the boat grow anxious, wondering if they might encounter this monster on their way to Shu. The storyteller reassures everyone, explaining that there is no need to worry, as the steel giant has already been subdued by a divine figure known as the Little Celestial Master in Shu, and it now obediently serves him. As everyone listened to the captivating story, some began to offer rewards. Yang Yuhuan, being a clever person, realized that this was a good opportunity. Telling stories and receiving rewards was certainly better than begging. Fortunately, she remembered the story that Zhang Xiaochuan had written for her, and she was confident that telling it would earn her applause and generous tips. Seizing the moment while someone was collecting their rewards, Yang Yuhuan stepped forward and said in a loud voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, I also have a story to share with you." After finishing her introduction, Yang Yuhuan paused to gauge the audience's reaction, hoping no one would interrupt her before continuing. Though her voice was rough, everyone could tell she was a woman. But it was not unusual for women in that era to dress as men when traveling. Thus, no one found it odd. Moreover, given her beautiful appearance, even those disinterested in the story were curious to hear what she would say, perhaps influenced by her charm. Seeing that everyone was looking at her, Yang Yuhuan cleared her throat and boldly began. Once upon a time in Taiyuan Prefecture, there was a scholar named Wang who left home early in the morning and encountered a woman. She was narrating the story of the painted skin from the famous collection of tales, mimicking Zhang Xiaochuan's earlier style. She described how Wang sneaked up to the window to peek inside, only to see a terrifying ghost with a greenish face and jagged teeth. The ghost had laid out a human skin on the bed and was painting it with a colorful brush. Just as she reached the part where Wang accidentally kicked something and made a noise, causing the ghost to look out with a gaping mouth, Yang Yuhuan's voice suddenly stopped. The audience was still engrossed in the story, and it took them several seconds to realize she had paused. Just as they were about to urge her to continue, a rumbling sound came from Yang Yuhuan's stomach. Quick-witted individuals recognized that the young girl must be short on funds and unable to afford a meal. They promptly took out food and water, while others offered cash rewards. Yang Yuhuan and her servant, Xiao Lian, graciously accepted everything with smiles. After the two had their fill, the crowd urged Yang Yuhuan to continue. Wiping her mouth and adopting a masculine demeanor, she resumed her storytelling. Chapter 165. The Foundation of Silicon. Since the last press conference, Zhang Xiaochuan had been extremely busy. The mechanical manufacturing plant had doubled in size, and to meet production demands, all factories needed to increase their equipment. Additionally, the steel plant and processing factory in Yaozhou, as well as the salt factory in Rongzhou, all required more machinery. However, Zhang Xiaochuan was not doing the manual labor himself. He was training personnel who could operate the machinery, particularly management staff. The hundreds of members of the Meihua Inner Guard were now divided into two groups. The younger ones were assigned to serve as security for the industrial park or to be trained as guards, essentially forming a private army. The older or more knowledgeable ones were placed in various factories as grassroots or mid-level managers. Once these individuals were able to train their subordinates, they could ascend to higher positions, and their loyalty was guaranteed, allowing Zhang Xiaochuan to confidently entrust his responsibilities to them. Through this period of training and personnel arrangements, Zhang Xiaochuan has become a bit more relaxed, and he has started to plan his wedding, determined to make it a grand affair. What makes it grand? One aspect is quantity, and the other is uniqueness. Therefore, Zhang Xiaochuan is currently developing fireworks and firecrackers, but Su Changming, who has been pulled into this endeavor, is not very happy about it. Master, I've been super busy lately. Is it really necessary for us to invest so much energy into this? Zhang Xiaochuan shot him a glare. Are you getting a bit too confident now? Although Zhang Xiaochuan is nearly 40 in his past life, he is currently just a young adult. Seeing a youthful figure with a still immature demeanor lecturing him felt quite strange. Unexpectedly, Su Changming smugly said, "Master, I dare bet that if you knew what I've developed, you definitely wouldn't be this calm about researching fireworks." Zhang Xiaochuan scoffed, thinking, with my perspective that is thousands of years ahead, what could possibly surprise me? He then gave Su Changming a playful tap on the head. Stop boasting and just say it. If you can make me change my expression, I'll consider you impressive. Su Changming touched his slightly red head and pulled out a small black object, saying, "Master, what do you think this is?" Zhang Xiaochuan glanced at it and replied, "What is it? It's not a piece of coal, is it? It's all black, but it seems to have a bit of sheen." Su Changming felt a bit awkward and confused, recalling how excited his master had been when he first mentioned this object, referring to it as the cornerstone of earth and technology. It was surprising that he didn't recognize it. So he asked again, "Master, you don't recognize this? Can you stop beating around the bush and just say it directly?" This is purified silicon." Zhang Xiaochuan casually responded. "Isn't it just pure silicon? What were you expecting?" Zhang Xiaochuan's eyes widened in shock. "Pure silicon?" Su Changming nodded, and Zhang Xiaochuan trembled as he took the small piece of silicon, treating it like a treasure, muttering, "Circuit boards, diodes, LEDs, semiconductors." Su Changming didn't catch what he said, and was about to ask, when Zhang Xiaochuan suddenly told him, "You're right. You definitely shouldn't be here with me working on fireworks. You need to immediately help me form a small team to specifically research this." With that, Zhang Xiaochuan pulled Su Changming to his study and handed him a large stack of materials. Seeing so much information, Su Changming's eyes widened. "Master, when did you prepare all this? Did you already know I would extract pure silicon?" Zhang Xiaochuan said very seriously, "You don't need to worry about that. For all personnel involved in this research, have Uncle Mo conduct background checks and loyalty tests. Once they join the team, they must be prohibited from contacting the outside world. This research is top secret." Zhang Xiaochuan didn't give him a specific task. He could research whatever he wanted from the materials. Once Su Changming fully understood the content, Zhang Xiaochuan would guide him in creating what he desired. However, there was also a possibility that Su Changming might surprise himself. But now that Su Changming was busy, he still hadn't figured out his fireworks project. He had the data, materials, and equipment. It just required some time for experimentation, but that was rather tedious. He wasn't cut out for research and had no interest in it. Since Su Changming was unavailable, he decided to take advantage of others. In the machining factory, Zhang Xiaochuan, with a smirk, asked Mo Tianji, "Uncle Mo, how is your helicopter performing?" Mo Tianji, not understanding Zhang Xiaochuan's intent, replied honestly, "Pretty well. Why?" Zhang Xiaochuan continued to entice him. "Have you ever thought about how it would be if the helicopter had more flexible ascent and descent, and was 10 times faster?" Mo Tianji's heart skipped a beat at the thought of 10 times the speed. He wanted to try it. Zhang Xiaochuan kept going. "What if we equipped it with bombs and machine guns to strike enemies from the air, and then formed a squadron to attack collectively? What would that feel like?" Mo Tianji thought to himself how exhilarating that would be. It would be invincible, with no rivals left in the world. He exclaimed, "What a feeling that would be. I can't wait. But could it still be called a helicopter?" Zhang Xiaochuan casually replied, "Fighter jet." "Yes, a fighter jet." Mo Tianji was so excited he jumped up and grabbed Zhang Xiaochuan. "Erlang, you wouldn't be joking, would you? Quickly, show me the blueprints." Seeing Mo Tianji was already enthusiastic, Zhang Xiaochuan began to reel him in. "I can give you the blueprints. But there are some technical issues that haven't been resolved yet. I've already arranged for Su Changming to tackle those." So Mo Tianji immediately sensed Zhang Xiaochuan was about to make a request, so he teased, "Erlang, you're becoming increasingly unscrupulous. What are your conditions?" Zhang Xiaochuan chuckled. "Well, I'm planning a wedding and want to make it grand, so I thought about getting some fireworks. But I haven't figured out the ratios, quantities, and materials yet." Mo Tianji knew he couldn't escape this, so he said, "All right, give me the formulas and blueprints. When do you need them? The sooner, the better." Mo Tianji was indeed an efficient genius. Within a few days, he had produced the fireworks. However, when Zhang Xiaochuan looked at the warehouse full of fireworks, he fell into deep thought. He realized he might have been too hasty. The only guardian left, Zhang Jingren, was still struggling in the southern region, perhaps fighting for his life. He thought he should wait for his older brother to return before holding the wedding, but wars in ancient times could last a year or more, and a warehouse full of fireworks might spoil by then. Chapter 166. Brilliant fireworks. Seeing Zhang Xiaochuan with a furrowed brow, Mo Tianji asked, "Why the long face?" "These are all made according to your specifications and have already been tested. If you want to make changes, I don't have the time." Zhang Xiaochuan realized he had made a blunder again. In his rush to prepare for the wedding, he forgot that it couldn't be held as scheduled. So he confessed to Mo Tianji. After listening, Mo Tianji casually said, "If you're worried about ruining it, just be straightforward. You can always arrange another batch when it's time to get married." Suddenly, Zhang Xiaochuan had an epiphany. Yes, why should he be so tangled up? If there are fireworks, just set them off. After all, none of his brides had seen fireworks before, so a fireworks show would be perfect. With this thought, Zhang Xiaochuan happily told Mo Tianji, "Uncle Mo, you're absolutely right. Haha, I'll get it done." 3 days later, centered around Zhangjiazhuang, people from a 10-mile radius flocked in, even from surrounding counties. The reason was that Zhang Xiaochuan was concerned that the ancient people had never seen fireworks, and setting them off at midnight might cause panic. So, he informed the local village heads in advance that at dusk 3 days later, the Zhang family would launch many fireworks. He wanted the townsfolk to see that there would be loud noises and brightly colored sparks lighting up the sky, similar to firecrackers, and not to be afraid. Upon hearing that the Zhang family was creating something new, people were not afraid at all. After Zhang's family became wealthy, everyone in the nearby areas benefited. So there was a lot of respect and trust for the Zhang family. Since they weren't afraid, they definitely wanted to join in the excitement and see it up close. As word spread among friends and relatives, by the eve of the fireworks display, there were likely tens of thousands of people around Zhangjiazhuang, with half of Suzhou in attendance. Initially, the Zhang family allowed people inside their premises, but as the crowd grew too large, they set up a long warning line outside and informed everyone that watching from outside would provide a better view. Although many thought this was just an excuse, no one dared to cross the line. The last time Zhang Yu came to stir up trouble, he was dealt with by Zhang Xiaochuan's impressive skill, which had become well known. So everyone understood that the little celestial master was not to be trifled with. Additionally, the Zhang family security team patrolled on motorcycles, roaring and puffing smoke. When people saw this, they exclaimed, "Oh my, isn't that the rumored moving steel monster? It's real and just like the legends, emitting black smoke." Thus, maintaining order was easy for the security team. One shout was all it took for everyone to comply. Originally, Zhang Xiaochuan planned to hold a bonfire party. But since people started arriving in waves from the afternoon to wait for the fireworks, he decisively canceled the party. As soon as night fell, the fireworks began, aiming to finish early and avoid any issues with such a large crowd. However, there still had to be a sense of ceremony. So Zhang Xiaochuan arranged for a small stage to be set up in the middle of the crescent-shaped warning line. Holding a microphone, Zhang Xiaochuan addressed the crowd of over 10,000. "Dear fellow villagers, thank you all for coming to support the Zhang family. I didn't expect so many of you, and I apologize for not being able to accommodate everyone properly. I promise that when I hold the official wedding, I will arrange food and drinks for everyone who comes." Upon hearing this bold statement, the crowd cheered, knowing that providing food for such a large number of people would indeed be a grand affair. Zhang Xiaochuan continued, "Today was originally supposed to be the day of our wedding, but due to my elder brother being away on a campaign, the ceremony has been postponed. However, I still want to take this opportunity to introduce my fiancés." The use of the word fiancés sent a ripple of excitement among the attentive crowd. How many wives was he planning to have? And he referred to them in the plural. Looking up at the stage, 11 young women stood in a line, each with an enchanting figure and splendid attire. Although they were all veiled, their beauty was hard to conceal. At this moment, the audience was filled with resentment. The men grumbled, with such beautiful brides, just marrying one would be enough to fulfill my life's wishes. Yet he wants to marry 11. Is there any humanity left? The women complained, the young master is talented and wealthy, and he has so many brides already. Why can't he marry me too? Unaware of the turmoil around him, Zhang Xiaochuan decided not to introduce their names or backgrounds, considering their notable identities, and moved straight to the next segment, the fireworks display. With a loud start, a loud bang echoed, and a brilliant light shot into the sky, soaring to a height that required looking up to see. Another bang followed as the second firework exploded, resembling a massive flower blooming in the night sky. Everyone present, except for Zhang Xiaochuan, was deeply moved. No matter how many times they had seen fireworks before, the stunning display that night was unforgettable. The resounding booms echoed like thunder, as vibrant fireworks continuously ascended and burst into colorful blossoms, illuminating the entire night sky. In that moment, countless young women were captivated, and the 11 beautiful brides on stage felt an immense happiness. All thinking, this is the fireworks prepared by my husband for me. Taking advantage of the moment, Zhang Xiaochuan embraced the girls beside him, wishing he had 2 more hands. The princesses he held were also happily leaning into his embrace, and at that moment, everyone was gazing at the sky, unaware of his little antics. Just then, as the first round of fireworks concluded, the audience was thoroughly entertained. As the last firework dimmed in the sky, everyone remained immersed in the spectacle, their eyes still fixed on the heavens, as if the fireworks were still burning. However, the atmosphere on the small stage changed. Su Yun was the first to notice Zhang Xiaochuan's inappropriate behavior. It didn't matter that he was being a bit cheeky, but what really bothered her was that she wasn't included. A wave of jealousy surged within her. Husband. Su Yun's call made him feel weak in the knees. It was a mix of playful annoyance and a hint of sulking. Her loud voice immediately attracted everyone's attention. Su Yun continued, Husband, today is the moment you publicly announce our engagement, and while these fireworks are beautiful and breathtaking, they still feel somewhat empty. Zhang Xiaochuan, realizing the small stage had become the center of attention, quickly withdrew his hand, cursing himself for being too eager. After all, they were all his type. And now this girl, Su Yun, was getting jealous and looking for trouble. Knowing Su Yun was trying to stir things up, Zhang Xiaochuan could only brace himself and respond. Then what do you think would not feel empty, my lady? Su Yun smiled charmingly and said, Of course. I need to express my love for you and for us through poetry. Writing poetry? Since Zhang Xiaochuan traveled here, he hadn't copied any poetry. Mainly because there were just too many poets from the Tang dynasty who produced countless timeless masterpieces, so he didn't want to embarrass himself in poetry. However, given the current situation, he certainly didn't have the level to write one himself, so he had no choice but to recite a poem. Chapter 167. At the lantern's edge, isn't it just writing poetry? After some thought, Zhang Xiaochuan spoke aloud. All right, since the beauty has spoken, I shall recite a poem today. Although everyone had heard various legends about Zhang Xiaochuan, there were none about him writing poetry, so they were all quite looking forward to it. Zhang Xiaochuan began to recite slowly. The east wind releases flowers like 1,000 trees at night, and blows down stars like rain. After finishing a line, he stepped down from the platform, seemingly lost in thought. Once he reached the ground, he continued reciting. The scent of fine cars fills the road. After finishing, he turned around and continued. The sound of the phoenix flute stirs, the light of the jade pot shifts, a night of fish and dragon dances. A couple of lines of poetry had Zhang Xiaochuan keeping everyone in suspense. After finishing the first stanza, he gazed at the sky again and recited, Moths and snow willows with golden threads, laughter and whispers fill the air with a subtle fragrance. He paced back and recited again, searching for him among the crowd 1,000 times, suddenly turning back. That person is there, at the lantern's edge. Due to the fragmented manner of his recitation, others couldn't fully grasp the meaning, and Zhang Xiaochuan knew that he was merely indicating that he was deep in thought. So he finished with the last line. Zhang Xiaochuan continued to pace, reciting, The east wind releases flowers like 1,000 trees at night, and blows down stars like rain. Searching for him among the crowd 1,000 times, suddenly turning back. That person is there, at the lantern's edge. Xiaochuan. Just as Zhang Xiaochuan finished the last line and turned to look at the crowd, he heard a familiar call, which puzzled him. He followed the sound, and their eyes locked. One person looked dazed. Who is this pretty boy? Seems like a girl disguised as a boy. Quite beautiful. Feels so familiar. Another person gazed affectionately. Xiaochuan, I finally found you. After half a year, your face seems to have gained some angles, making you even more charming. Do you know how much I've missed you? Zhang Xiaochuan was just about to speak when that graceful figure leaped into his arms. He realized it was Yang Yuan. How did she end up here? And why did it feel like a long-distance relationship reunion? I'm about to announce my engagement. This could turn into a huge public scene. What should I do? Should I call for a bomb to blow me up? A bomb? Firework? Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaochuan immediately raised one hand, signaling to continue the fireworks. Someone had been watching him with binoculars, and upon seeing his gesture, they immediately began. Boom, boom, boom. The loud explosions rang out, and fireworks soared into the sky, capturing everyone's attention, making them forget to question who the person embracing the little celestial master was. Passers-by might have forgotten. But the 11 brides-to-be on stage certainly hadn't, their gazes piercing like daggers into someone's heart. Zhang Xiaochuan only felt a chill on his back, and his heart was heavy. Who would have thought that pen pals would turn into a long-distance relationship? The key was that he only realized it later. But now that the situation had come to his doorstep, what should he do? Never mind, he thought. Let us just take her back first, after all. He couldn't stay here any longer. Zhang Xiaochuan awkwardly pulled Yang Yuhuan towards the 11 fiancés. Although no one was furious, their expressions were not friendly either. Little did they know that not long ago, they were also newcomers to this situation. However, the one who should have been the most upset, Yao Er, seemed surprisingly enthusiastic as she reached out to Yang Yuhuan. Yes, very enthusiastic. Zhang Xiaochuan doubted whether he was hallucinating. Seeing Yao Er approach Yang Yuhuan, the others had no choice but to follow suit, leaving someone behind, looking like a child who had done something wrong, trailing behind. Zhang Xiaochuan and his group left. But they didn't attract much attention because the fireworks were simply too numerous, lighting up the entire sky and continuing for half an hour until everyone's necks were sore. When the fireworks stopped, this visual feast, like a giant stone thrown into calm waters, created ripples that quickly spread in all directions, becoming a legend that couldn't be easily quelled. In the living room of Zhang Xiaochuan's villa, 12 strikingly beautiful women gathered together, while Zhang Xiaochuan sat nervously in the middle, with Yao Er on his left and Yang Yuhuan on his right, surrounded by 10 princesses. Everyone was silent, all staring at Zhang Xiaochuan, creating a very strange atmosphere. Zhang Xiaochuan felt that enjoying such fortune was truly uncomfortable. At this moment, he felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. Zhang Xiaochuan knew that there was no way to avoid this today. Since it had come to this, he could only brace himself and face it. He had to make the most of the situation, and if he couldn't, he had to create opportunities. It seemed he was getting off track. Well, now it was up to him to break the awkwardness. So, Zhang Xiaochuan started with an introduction. This is Yang Yuhuan. At this point, Zhang Xiaochuan suddenly realized that he had been led astray by Pei Rou. Although he could sense that Yang Yuhuan was interested in him, they hadn't established a relationship yet. At most, they had just hugged earlier. What was there to be afraid of? He should sit upright and confident. How could he feel guilty? He hadn't done anything wrong. After a pause, Zhang Xiaochuan continued with the introduction. Yang Yuhuan is my pen pal. Pen pal? What's that? Su Yin voiced everyone's curiosity. Zhang Xiaochuan explained, almost like a tongue twister. A pen pal is literally someone who becomes friends through correspondence. Friends formed through letters are called pen pals. On the way back, they had surrounded Yang Yuhuan and chattered away, uncovering her background thoroughly. Now, Zhang Xiaochuan's introduction seemed purely an attempt to cover up the obvious. Therefore, everyone had a look of disdain. Who would believe it? A pen pal would hug you upon meeting? A pen pal would run away from a wedding to find you? A pen pal would sit next to you now? In short, the situation was filled with points of contention, and even a blind person could sense Yang Yuhuan's affectionate gaze towards Zhang Xiaochuan. It is impossible to say that Zhang Xiaochuan does not like Yang Yuhuan. However, a preconceived notion has trapped him. He believes that Yang Yuhuan is equivalent to Li Longji's woman, to Yang Guifei, to An Lushan's godmother, and to a segment of history. Therefore, Zhang Xiaochuan suppresses his feelings for Yang Yuhuan so much that he still cannot face his own heart, ignoring the disdain from these women. He continues to introduce, this is my fiancée, Shang Wanyao. He then points to the two Yayas, saying, this is my fiancée, Daya and Xiaoya. As Zhang Xiaochuan goes around the circle, introducing each one, every mention feels like a sharp knife piercing Yang Yuhuan's heart, leaving it riddled with wounds. When he introduces Su Yun, the quirky princess jumps out and says, enough. Husband, you are being too much. How can you trample on a girl's true feelings like this? I hate you. After saying that, Su Yun storms off, followed by Dong Man Man. I hate you too. Daya follows suit. I hate you as well. One by one, the princesses leave with a parting remark. Zhang Xiaochuan grabs Xiaoya. Xiaoya, you are the sweetest. Husband, you have gone too far this time. Even my sweetest Xiaoya is leaving. Zhang Xiaochuan is almost going crazy. Regarding Yang Yuhuan, he knows he has made mistakes, but from the beginning, neither side established a relationship. If he thinks he did right, then why is everyone blaming him? Now, only Yao Er and Yang Yuhuan remain in the living room. Yang Yuhuan has already cried enough to resemble a drenched pear blossom. If it weren't for comforting Yang Yuhuan, Yao Er would probably have left too. In the end, Yang Yuhuan couldn't hold back any longer and burst out angrily at Zhang Xiaochuan. What do I even mean to you? Zhang Xiaochuan doesn't know how to respond, and Yao Er, also angry, says, husband, why do you treat Yunu like this? She's so good. You have really gone too far this time. She goes to pull Yang Yuhuan. Let's go. Don't pay attention to this ungrateful person. If it were the previous Zhang Xiaochuan, he might have let Yao Er take Yang Yuhuan away and then hide like a turtle, waiting for the situation to calm down. But now, he can't let Yang Yuhuan go. There must be a conclusion. At this moment, Yang Yuhuan stands up and decisively says, since you cannot accept me, then I will leave. She shakes off Yao Er's hand and intends to walk out. Zhang Xiaochuan almost shouts, wait. He reaches out and grabs Yang Yuhuan, but she continues to struggle, trying to leave. Zhang Xiaochuan continues, I have something to say to you. I hope you can make a choice with full understanding. Yang Yuhuan stops in her tracks and no longer insists on leaving, while Yao Er wisely leaves the living room. I can actually feel your feelings for me. Zhang Xiaochuan hesitates and continues. You know I have a nickname called Little Celestial Master. Yang Yuhuan lowers her head and remains silent. Zhang Xiaochuan continued, this isn't just a nickname. I truly have a celestial master, which allows me to foresee certain future events regarding you. Yang Yuhuan looked up at Zhang Xiaochuan in a daze, still saying nothing. Zhang Xiaochuan went on, in the future I foresee, you marry Prince Shou, Li Zhao, and become a princess. Later, you rise to become a noble consort, showered with countless favors and incomparable honor, second only to one person. Are you willing to give all that up? I am. Yang Yuhuan replied without any hesitation. Although her answer was resolute, Zhang Xiaochuan felt she was just caught up in the moment. So he asked, are you sure you don't want to think it over? That position is second only to one, a supreme glory. Are you certain you can truly give it up for just a love that you have to share with someone else? Yang Yuhuan smiled. Are you worried I might regret it? Or are you afraid of something? Afraid? Why should I be afraid? Zhang Xiaochuan's thoughts became a bit chaotic, and he didn't know how to respond. Yang Yuhuan asked, I want to know, is there a place for you in the future you foresee? Zhang Xiaochuan's so-called foresight was merely history. How could a nameless person like him appear in it? He shook his head and said no, but now in my choices. There is you, so I know what I want to choose. Now it's your turn to choose. After Yang Yuhuan spoke, she quietly gazed at Zhang Xiaochuan. At that moment, Zhang Xiaochuan seemed to have an epiphany. Yes, she has included me in her choices. The reason I have been avoiding a relationship with Yang Yuhuan is that I worry about being too entangled with history. If Yang Yuhuan doesn't marry Li Zhao, too many things will change, and history will become unclear. But I have traveled here to learn history, or to change it. No, it's neither. I, Zhang Xiaochuan, am here to create history. Each thing I want to do is more significant than marrying Yang Yuhuan in terms of historical impact. Why must Yang Yuhuan marry Li Zhao according to history? Am I saying I don't like her? How could I not? Among the beauties throughout 5,000 years of history, how could a normal man not be attracted? Moreover, this stunning woman loves me so passionately. What reason do I have to refuse? At that moment, Zhang Xiaochuan's thoughts were clear, and there was a spark in his eyes. To hell with Li Zhao. To hell with the emperor. To hell with history. Yang Yuhuan is mine. Yang Yuhuan was still looking at Zhang Xiaochuan, waiting for his answer. Suddenly, he embraced her. She wanted to speak, but her mouth was covered, and he was kissing her passionately. In that moment, Yang Yuhuan forgot to breathe, just as she was about to suffocate. Zhang Xiaochuan paused the fervent kiss, wrapping one arm around her waist and holding her chin with the other, saying affectionately, Yunu, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. A single love confession outweighed 1,000 words. Yang Yuhuan was completely enchanted. All her previous grievances vanished. And at that moment, she just wanted to lean into the arms of the person before her, just as someone was about to take advantage of the situation. A remark filled with jealousy came through. Yunu, I love you, and I want you to be with me for the rest of my life. Sigh. Even a princess would struggle with this. My husband is jealous. You should say something to me too. Su Yun's sour comments broke the lingering atmosphere, causing Yang Yuhuan to blush and quickly step out of Zhang Xiaochuan's embrace. At this moment, 11 ladies had already formed a neat circle, and Zhang Xiaochuan could only smile awkwardly. The proud Daya said to Zhang Xiaochuan, this princess forgives you. Dong Man chimed in, I forgive you too. The other princesses also came over to express their forgiveness, and Zhang Xiaochuan felt incredibly happy. If this were to lead to a night together, oh my. That would be overwhelming, and he couldn't help but show a mischievous smile. All the lovely wives, aware of his wicked grin, quickly fled. Once again, only Yaoer and Yang Yuhuan remained. Zhang Xiaochuan was about to say that having one king and two queens wouldn't be bad. However, Yaoer grabbed Yang Yuhuan and ran off, leaving behind a parting remark. Husband, you are punished to sleep alone tonight. With everyone gone, Zhang Xiaochuan fell into deep thought. Yang Yuhuan's life trajectory had changed. History would become mysterious. How would the unknown history unfold? Just wait and see how I use technology to control the great dynasty. After the boldness came a bitter smile. Having more than a dozen wives, yet ending up alone was simply unacceptable. So what if they didn't stay? Would I not go find them? But with Yang Yuhuan, we had just established our relationship, and I definitely couldn't have her now. I'd better go find my other two ladies. Daya and Xiaoya, here I come. Chapter 169. Business trip to the milk powder factory. Zhang Xiaochuan went to find Yang Yuhuan early at Yaoer's place, where his sister-in-law was also present. To be honest, Zhang Xiaochuan was somewhat intimidated by this sister-in-law, reminding him of his past life, where he had a sister who treated him well but often kept him in check. Sure enough, when Xiao Qin saw Zhang Xiaochuan, her initially cheerful expression instantly turned cold. I hear you've become quite capable. Come here. Zhang Xiaochuan had no choice but to lower his head and walk over, like a child who had done something wrong. Hello, sister-in-law. Not good at all. I heard you made Yuna cry last night. Zhang Xiaochuan felt frustrated. Who was the gossiping tongue? He couldn't help but glare at Yaoer, who quickly shrank back. The sister-in-law stepped in front to block. What? Are you going to bully Yaoer? Zhang Xiaochuan chuckled. Not at all. I'm here to find Yunu. The sister-in-law, having defended Yang Yuhuan's honor, said no more, turning to greet Yang Yuhuan and Yaoer before leaving. Since there were no hard feelings, Zhang Xiaochuan took Yang Yuhuan for a stroll around the park, which could be considered a date. Someone said this was called walking the street. Everything was new and fascinating to Yang Yuhuan, and being with someone she liked made her really happy. In her heart, Yang Yuhuan thought, indeed, the person she loved was remarkable. How smart must one be to invent all these novel things? Zhang Xiaochuan then took out a big surprise. inviting Yang Yuhuan to board a helicopter, giving them a bird's-eye view of the land of Shuzhou from the sky. After living in this region for so many years, I never expected to one day overlook the Earth from such an angle. It's truly magnificent and wonderful, Yang Yuhuan exclaimed while sitting in the helicopter. Zhang Xiaochuan, with a doting tone, said, if you like it, we can often take a flight to enjoy the view. Yang Yuhuan nestled in Zhang Xiaochuan's arms and softly said, Xiaochuan, you are so good. Suddenly, she got up from his embrace, excitedly pointing below. Look, it's a snow mountain. This is the first time I've seen a snow mountain. Is that so? Then let's take a closer look, Zhang Xiaochuan replied. He then asked Su Dainyu to circle around the snow mountain. The snowy landscape rushed by on both sides, similar to the feeling of riding a train. Yang Yuhuan was captivated by the view, completely immersed in the snowy scenery, while someone else was indifferent to it, preoccupied with thoughts of food. After enjoying the scenery and each other's company, the helicopter finally landed at a milk processing factory in a neighboring region. Coincidentally, Luochu was also at the milk powder factory. Upon seeing Zhang Xiaochuan, he hurried over to greet him. When he noticed the stunning beauty beside Zhang Xiaochuan, he couldn't help but exclaim that she was absolutely extraordinary, even surpassing the princess. He marveled at the presence of such a figure. Setting aside his thoughts, Luochu bowed and said, Welcome, my lord. I will take you inside first and arrange a banquet shortly. Zhang Xiaochuan replied, Just keep it simple. I need to head back later. Let's first try the milk. I don't drink milk. It's too pungent, Yang Yuhuan protested. Zhang Xiaochuan sensed her misunderstanding and explained, It's not what you think. This is processed milk. Let's take a look first. The group arrived at the factory's office area, where a row of cups was quickly set up, followed by various bottles and jars. The rich aroma of milk filled the air, completely devoid of any off-putting smell. Luochu, now resembling the factory director, introduced each type of milk as the maid prepared a cup. This is pure milk that has been pasteurized at low temperatures. This is milk made from low-sugar milk powder. This is formula milk for infants, made from sweetened milk powder. This is milk made from goat milk powder. This is a fermented low-sugar milkshake. With each introduction, Zhang Xiaochuan took a sip to taste and evaluate the product's positioning and future packaging. Yang Yuhuan was also drawn in by the aroma and took a sip, finding it completely different from the milk she remembered. She recalled when the farmhouse's cow gave birth, and they only managed to get a bowl of milk, which was a precious commodity, yet it made her sick as a child. But now, this milk had no pungent taste, only a rich fragrance. Yang Yuhuan accidentally drank too much, and before she knew it, she felt a bit dizzy. At that moment, Yang Yuhuan's eyes were glazed, and her cheeks flushed, making her even more enchanting. When Zhang Xiaochuan turned to see her like that, his heart stirred. Just then, Yang Yuhuan leaned on her hand, almost falling over, and Zhang Xiaochuan quickly supported her. Seeing her appear as if she were intoxicated, he was astonished and asked Luochu, Lord Luo, did you add alcohol to this? Luo Tua also noticed Yang Yuhuan's unusual state and said with a smile, There's no alcohol in my milk powder. It seems that Miss Yang is feeling dizzy from drinking too much milk, which can be similar to drunkenness for those who don't consume it often. I'm afraid our leader won't be able to leave today. It's best for Miss Yang to find a place to rest. Moving around now might lead to severe nausea. The next day, after Yang Yuhuan woke up, she first returned to the estate and then went to Rongzhou to check on the progress of the salt factory. This was all part of the plan, but it had been delayed due to some unexpected visits. Now, taking advantage of the business trip to inspect the project, she could also arrange a meeting, truly a perfect blend of work and leisure. Yang Yuhuan, who was naturally lively and active, was extremely happy to be running around with Zhang Xiaochuan, enjoying the rare love in a feudal society. She felt these days were the happiest moments of her life. Zhang Xiaochuan had just returned from inspecting the steel factory in Yaozhou. Before the helicopter had even come to a complete stop, his sister-in-law rushed over and pulled him aside. She immediately questioned, What is going on with this Yang Yuhuan? What do you mean? Zhang Xiaochuan was a bit confused by the question. Stop pretending. Isn't Yang Yuhuan betrothed to the royal family? The Yang family has come looking for her. So it was the Yang family who had come. No wonder his sister-in-law was so anxious. Zhang Xiaochuan reassured her, It's fine. I'll handle it with the Yang family. His sister-in-law immediately became agitated. What nonsense are you saying? How many girls have you gotten involved with? How many wives do you plan to marry? I've supported you all along, but this Yang Yuhuan is different. This could create a huge mess. You need to calm her down and make sure she goes back with her family. Zhang Xiaochuan initially wanted to argue that his woman shouldn't be taken away, but he realized that would be futile. It was better to agree for now to keep his sister-in-law calm and then adapt to the situation. So he readily replied, All right, I understand. I'll talk to Yinu. And we should go meet her family. Satisfied with Zhang Xiaochuan's promise, his sister-in-law led them to meet the Yang family. In the reception room of the office building, Zhang Xiaochuan met the representatives from the Yang family, including Yang Xuanli, whom he had encountered before. Upon seeing Zhang Xiaochuan and the others, Yang Xuanli calmly stood up to show politeness. Zhang Xiaochuan, aware that he was involved with their niece, now considered her almost like a daughter. So he immediately lowered his stance and stepped forward to bow. Yang Xuanli returned the gesture calmly, in stark contrast to Zhang Xiaochuan's anxiousness. However, when he saw Yang Yuhuan behind Zhang Xiaochuan, he couldn't hide his displeasure and barked, Come over here. Although Yang Yuhuan was reluctant, the customs of the time emphasized respect for elders. She could leave home in a fit of anger, but now that she was in front of her family, she had no choice but to comply. casting a reluctant glance back at Zhang Xiaochuan as she walked over. Zhang Xiaochuan gave her a reassuring look. Once everyone was seated, Zhang Xiaochuan, fully aware of the situation, asked, "What brings you here, Mr. Yang?" Instead of answering directly, Yang Xuanli made a pointed remark. "Young Master Zhang truly has remarkable skills. In just half a year, you've accomplished so much, each matter more impressive than the last. You've truly opened my eyes." In addition to pointing out that the industrial park established by Zhang Xiaochuan is impressive, there is also a sarcastic implication about Zhang Xiaochuan and Yang Yuhuan having secret dealings. However, a certain individual did not pick up on this at all and humbly said, "Not at all, it's all thanks to everyone's support. What I've done is nothing to mention." Yang Xuanjie originally came with great determination, but upon arriving in the region, he was overwhelmed by the plethora of legends surrounding the little celestial master. Initially, he thought the rumors were absurd, but upon reaching the Zhang family's industrial park, he encountered many novel things. Although he did not understand most of them, people often feel fear towards the unknown, making Zhang Xiaochuan appear very mysterious to Yang Xuanjie. Thus, Yang Xuanjie suppressed his anger and hoped to clarify the stakes with Zhang Xiaochuan, hoping he would allow Yang Yuhuan to leave safely with him. Yang Xuanjie was not there to ingratiate himself. Seeing that Zhang Xiaochuan completely missed his hints, he got straight to the point. "I have come for Yunu. I believe you understand my predicament, and I must take Yunu away." Seeing Yang Xuanjie being so direct, Zhang Xiaochuan did not beat around the bush and decisively refused, saying, "I cannot agree to this. Yunu and I are in love. How could I let her go with you?" Yang Xuanjie seemed to have anticipated this response and did not get angry. Instead, he explained, "As a senior, I am not against the feelings of youth. But Yunu has been favored by the royal family and is to be married into the royal lineage. Therefore, I must ask you to let her go. After all, royal decrees cannot be ignored, and we cannot afford to embarrass the royal family." Zhang Xiaochuan dismissed this, saying, "What does the royal family matter? I belong to a prominent family as well. In any case, I will not let this go. No one can change my mind." Despite being mentally prepared, Yang Xuanjie's anger flared up. He thought, "I know you are exceptionally clever and have achieved great success, but to think you can confront the royal family is simply foolish." With a stern tone, he said, "Zhang Xiaochuan, I do not blame your youthful arrogance for not understanding the authority of the royal family, but I hope you do not mislead yourself. The key is not to drag my family down with you." Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiaochuan retorted with even more audacious words, "No worries, I will protect your family as well. Stick with me, and I will ensure your family enjoys wealth and prosperity." Yang Xuanjie was at a loss for words, feeling that this was either incredibly arrogant or downright foolish. "You claim you will protect my family's wealth, but when disaster strikes, who will you protect then?" The problem was that there was no point in arguing with such an ignorant fool, so he issued an ultimatum. "This is not up for discussion. I will take Yuna back tomorrow. If you do not comply, I will have no choice but to take drastic measures and report this to the authorities." Zhang Xiaochuan wanted to say, "Why don't you believe in my capabilities? A rebellion for love isn't impossible." But he was firmly held back by his sister-in-law, so he had no choice but to relent. He then heard his sister-in-law say, "Yang Gong is right. Young people can be stubborn. I will take him back to persuade him, and you should also talk to Yunu." Yang Xuanjie did not want to continue discussing matters with the Zhang family, so he agreed and took Yang Yuhuan away. Inside the Zhang family's villa, Yang Xuanjie looked at all the novel items and couldn't help but marvel. This young man, truly a prodigy. If it weren't for the marriage contract with the prince, my uncle wouldn't want to stop you. Yang Yuhuan noticed her uncle's tone had softened, so she said, "Uncle, you also see that Zhang Langjun is not an ordinary person, and I really do not want to marry into the royal family. Once I go over, I will become a caged bird, with no freedom for the rest of my life. How can it compare to being a true bird like I am now?" As she spoke, she recalled the scene of flying with Zhang Xiaochuan, which was such a free and pleasant experience. Lost in thought, she couldn't help but blush, prompting Yang Xuanjie to stomp his feet. Realizing that this girl had her heart stolen away, unable to hold back, he coughed twice, interrupting Yang Yuhuan's daydreaming. Yang Xuanjie knew that Yang Yuhuan was stubborn, so being forceful wouldn't work. Instead, he targeted her soft spot. "Yunu, no matter how capable this Zhang Langjun is, can he surpass the royal family? If you choose to be with him, that would be defying the imperial decree. Not only will our Yang family face extermination, but his family will too. If you truly care for him, shouldn't you want him to live? If you don't even care about his life, what love can there be?" However, Yang Yuhuan wanted to retort, but couldn't find the words. Seeing that his words had sunk in, Yang Xuanjie didn't waste any more time and said, "You think it over carefully." As the sky gradually darkened, Yang Yuhuan didn't turn on the lights, quietly gazing at the distant lights outside in the dark room. The feudal mindset was deeply ingrained, and the majesty of royal power was a law that ordinary people could not resist. 2 lines of tears flowed down her exquisite face. The next morning, Zhang Xiaochuan, unusually early, arrived at the villa where Yang Yuhuan and Yang Xuanjie were staying. However, upon entering, he realized he was the last one to arrive. Yang Xuanjie spoke first. "Fortunately, you two haven't made a grave mistake. The wedding date is approaching, and we will set out shortly." "What?" Just as Zhang Xiaochuan was about to explode, he was interrupted by Yang Yuhuan. "This is my choice. You're saying you want to go back with Yang Gong?" Zhang Xiaochuan's eyes widened in disbelief. Yang Yuhuan coldly replied, "Yes. I want to go back with my third uncle. I want to become a princess and eventually a noble consort. Zhang Xiaochuan countered. But we were so affectionate just yesterday. Didn't you say you were willing to give up the glory and wealth of being above everyone for me? Besides, I can also provide you with wealth and glory. Give up being above everyone for you. Can you give up your 11 wives for me? Zhang Xiaochuan was left speechless. In fact, Yang Yuhuan's argument had significant flaws. She was being unreasonable. Marrying the prince would still mean sharing him with many women, and even if she became a noble consort, it wouldn't change. What reason did she have to demand such from Zhang Xiaochuan? Unfortunately, as a modern person, Zhang Xiaochuan felt a deep sense of guilt on this matter, making it hard for him to refute her. At the same time, he felt a sense of responsibility and connection to those 11 fiancés that he couldn't sever. Although he wanted to express that he had developed feelings and ties with them, he ultimately couldn't voice it. Since you can't let go, then let us part ways here. From now on, we shall go our separate ways and never meet again in this life. After Yang Yuhuan finished speaking, she left Zhang Xiaochuan, who was still in a daze, resolutely. Chapter 171. The imperial edict arrives. Zhang Xiaochuan watched Yang Yuhuan's departing figure and shouted angrily. Why can't you just say it directly? It's so baffling how you suddenly changed your mind and just left. Go far away, who needs you? Yaoer knew that Zhang Xiaochuan was just venting his anger, so she came over and hugged him, hoping to provide some comfort. Zhang Xiaochuan felt conflicted. He didn't understand what Yang Yuhuan was really thinking. His previous rejection of her stemmed from a subconscious fear of disrupting history, as well as the fact that Yang Yuhuan's reputation wasn't particularly good. Zhang Xiaochuan always believed that history, in order to glorify the authority of the throne, often smeared women with blame, like Daji. If it weren't for King Zhou's tyranny, could Daji have caused chaos? And then there was King Yu of Zhou and Bao Si, who was ultimately labeled as one of the reasons for the fall of the Zhou dynasty. As for Yang Yuhuan, historical evaluations weren't favorable either. Apart from her singing, dancing, and beauty, there were few positive comments. It was said that Li Longji neglected state affairs to indulge Yang Yuhuan, leading to the Ensure rebellion and a decline in national strength. Zhang Xiaochuan always thought that even without Yang Yuhuan, there would be others like Li Yuhuan or Wang Yuhuan. Blaming a woman's actions for the rise and fall of a country was unfair. Therefore, he saw Yang Yuhuan as merely an artist who loved singing and dancing, trapped in a feudal society. However, Yang Yuhuan's sudden change in attitude made Zhang Xiaochuan wonder if she was, at her core, someone who craved vanity and power, previously just lacking a darker side. On the other hand, he firmly believed in his earlier thoughts, as through their correspondence and interactions, she appeared to be a naive and free-spirited girl yearning for love and freedom. At this moment, Yaoer asked, "Are you really just going to let her leave? At least try to persuade her. She might have her own struggles, right? Do you know something?" Zhang Xiaochuan looked up sharply, his gaze intense. Yaoer hesitated, saying, "Yinu truly cares for you. But what? You're making me anxious." Zhang Xiaochuan urged, "What good does it do that she truly cares for me? The world is under the rule of kings. Even if I win her back, where can we go?" Zhang Xiaochuan's expression relaxed a bit. "As long as I can confirm her feelings, the notion that the world belongs to kings is wrong. The truth is, the sky is high enough for birds to fly, and the sea is vast enough for fish to leap. Once I bring Yuna back, if not, we will just find another place to live. My lord, I know you are capable, but after all, they are of royal blood. There are some things I must say. Please forgive me for overstepping. How can you prioritize one person, regardless of the circumstances, over us and the survival of the entire Zhang family?" After saying this, Yaoer felt her words might have been too harsh, so she gently added, "I'm sorry, my lord. I just hope you don't act recklessly and that you don't let Yunu's feelings go to waste." Hearing this, Zhang Xiaochuan could guess that Yang Yuhuan probably left decisively to avoid dragging down both the Yang and Zhang families. He comforted Yaoer, saying, "It's all right. We are husband and wife. You can say anything to me. However, you must have confidence in me. I can protect you all." After saying this, Zhang Xiaochuan found Uncle Mo and asked him to arrange a team to secretly follow Yang Yuhuan. This was to ensure her safety and to monitor her, which would facilitate future actions. Inside the stainless steel processing factory, Zhang Xiaochuan was examining a pair of serrated scissors. He exclaimed, "These scissors are quite good, very sharp. They must be excellent for cutting hair." The factory manager, Mei Hua, who was standing nearby, quickly replied, "You want to use these to cut hair? That won't do. Our hair and skin are given to us by our parents. We must not cut them." Zhang Xiaochuan understood that in this day and age, cutting hair was not a trivial matter. It was a serious breach of moral and ethical conduct. So he pretended to misspeak and hurriedly explained, "No, I recently got a dog, and its fur is too long, so I need to give it a trim." After saying that, Zhang Xiaochuan ran off with the scissors. Mei Hua scratched his head and muttered to himself, "Does Erlang have a dog?" After leaving the stainless steel factory, Zhang Xiaochuan went to a chemical plant and then to a machining factory, satisfied as he returned to the villa with several items. Yaoer saw Zhang Xiaochuan acting mysteriously and thought he was still under the shadow of leaving Yang Yuhuan. So she worriedly asked, "What are you carrying? If you're bored, why don't I accompany you fishing?" "No, you come here. I'll teach you a skill. I feel I'll need it soon." "Zhang Deshir, why have you suddenly stopped?" The voice asking the question was sharp and weak, clearly belonging to a eunuch. The one referred to as Zhang Deshir was none other than the frustrated Zhang Yu. Jian Neishi, ahead is where the Zhang family tablet is located. The ceremonial procession can pass, but if the guards are accompanying, they must disarm. The eunuch Jia Qijuan had come to Shu Prefecture to deliver a decree from the Zhang family. Jia Qijuan was a rather unscrupulous eunuch, and one could say that the decline of the dynasty had a share of his responsibility. Historically, Meng Shizhao Wang Pilo Ge unified the sixth Zhao with the military strength of the dynasty and was later granted the title of King of Yunnan, establishing the Nanzhao Kingdom. After Pilo Ji's death, his son Ge Luofeng inherited the throne and, during a visit to the capital, his wife was harassed by Zhang Qiantao, the governor of Yao Prefecture. Ge Luofeng then submitted a complaint to the court, and the emperor, valuing Nanzhao, sent eunuchs to Yao Prefecture to investigate. The eunuch sent for the investigation was Jia Qijuan. This unscrupulous eunuch accepted bribes from Zhang Qiantao, turning the truth upside down, which led to a rebellion from Nanzhao and resulted in the dynasty losing over 100,000 troops in the campaign against them. Troops were even mobilized from Chang'an to attack Nanzhao, but before they could succeed, the Ungshi rebellion broke out, making the insufficient military strength another significant reason for the failure in the campaign against Nanzhao. Hearing Zhang Yu's words, Jia Qijuan was furious. The ceremonial procession and guards are the nation's dignity. How dare you suggest disarming the guards? You have a lot of nerve. Zhang Yu felt distressed. It wasn't that he disregarded national dignity, but this place was truly strange. To avoid unforeseen events, he gritted his teeth and recounted the incident from the last time he came to the Zhang family, embellishing it by describing the Zhang family as a den of danger. Jia Qijuan's anger surged even more after hearing those words. What nonsense are you talking about? Is this place outside the law? Today, I will bring my armored warriors into this residence. Seeing Jia Qijuan heading straight ahead with his men, Zhang Yu did not stop him. Instead, he took a step back. As a flash of inspiration hit him. Since I have already said what I needed to say, wouldn't it be better to wait and see the two sides fight? However, to Zhang Yu's surprise, after Jia Qijuan and his men passed the boundary stone of the residence, nothing unusual occurred. Zhang Yu wondered to himself, has the divine punishment failed? At that moment, a team of motorcyclists approached, led by a person who performed a gesture of respect. Esteemed guest, please follow me. After saying this, he cleared the way ahead. Jia Qijuan turned around and glared at Zhang Yu, as if to say, is this what you call a den of dragons and tigers? After glaring at Zhang Yu, he turned his horse and followed the motorcycle team. Chapter 172. Shaving the head to show resolve around Zhangjia village. Many towers now stood tall, disguised to resemble trees. One could hardly see them up close, but inside, at least 3 people were on duty. 2 took turns observing the surroundings with binoculars for 20 hours without rest, while 1 was a sniper ready to shoot at any intruders. Therefore, Zhang Yu and Jia Qijuan's team were spotted from a distance. Wei Laosan noticed that although they had soldiers this time, they did not seem to be looking for trouble. So he let them in and informed Zhang Xiaochuan, who then arranged for them to be received in the office building. In the reception room, Yaoer looked at Zhang Xiaochuan and curiously asked, "Husband, why do you seem so restless? You look like you're really looking forward to something. Do you know what they are here for?" She could guess a little, but did I seem overly excited? Yaoer nodded, very excited and a bit uneasy, as if you're both hopeful and worried. Zhang Xiaochuan pulled Yaoer into his arms. "You really are like a worm in my belly. You've captured my current mindset perfectly." "Oh, they will be here soon, so behave properly." As Yaoer said this, she wriggled free from his grasp. "All right, I'll deal with you later." Yaoer made a face at him. "You won't be able to deal with me tonight. It's your turn to serve Dong Man Man." Then she glanced outside. "It seems they have arrived. Let's go out and greet them. They should be from the capital." "Fine." Although Zhang Xiaochuan was not pleased with Zhang Yu, he had to show some respect since he was a high-ranking official. As for the eunuch accompanying him, regardless of rank, any eunuch from the capital deserved a bit of respect. However, Zhang Xiaochuan didn't want to cater to them and wouldn't have come to receive them if his older brother were not absent. But remembering his sister-in-law's threatening gaze, he thought, "Forget it, I am also half ahead of the family." So he managed his expression and approached with a stiff smile. "Oh, isn't this Ambassador Zhang? What brings you here?" This greeting would be fine between ordinary friends, but Zhang Yu was a dignified military governor, and he thought, how rude for a commoner to greet me like this. Thus, he held his head high as if he hadn't heard anything. Zhang Xiaochuan saw this and thought, "You're giving me the cold shoulder? How dare you?" He turned around and walked away. Jia Qijuan was initially quite pleased to see Zhang Xiaochuan greet him with a smile. Just as he was about to respond with a smile of his own, Zhang Yu made a face, and Zhang Xiaochuan walked away, leaving the situation extremely awkward. Jia Qijuan thought to himself that although he had an imperial decree, he was here to ask for something, so he needed to be more amiable. How could Zhang Yu come in and show a long face to the host? He glared at Zhang Yu, signaling him to quickly stop Zhang Xiaochuan. Zhang Yu was frustrated. As a dignified official of the 3rd rank, it was humiliating to be thwarted by a commoner. As he watched Zhang Xiaochuan walk further away, he had no choice but to quicken his pace and cheerfully call out, "Young Master Zhang, long time no see." He even forcibly held on to Zhang Xiaochuan, continuing, "Come, let me introduce you. This is Jian Neishi from the capital, a favored person at court." Zhang Xiaochuan shot a glance at Zhang Yu, cursing inwardly, what a shameless person, so bold to be so rude. With a disdainful expression, he turned to Jian Neishi and said, "I have the honor to meet you, Jian Neishi. I've long admired your reputation." Jian Neishi returned the courtesy slightly. "I have heard much about you, young Master Zhang. Seeing you in person, you truly have an impressive demeanor." "Flattery, flattery," Zhang Xiaochuan replied, while Zhang Yu watching them exchange insincere pleasantries. Wished he could just chop Zhang Xiaochuan up right then and there. After the greetings, Jia Neishi got straight to the point. I come on the emperor's orders. Please accept the decree. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaochuan to respond, he began to read. Under the decree, the Zhang family has been loyal for generations, and thus a special commendation is given, with a reward of 10,000 gold coins, which is equivalent to 10,000 copper coins. It has also been heard that the Zhang family has improved the formula for glass, which has pleased the emperor greatly, as this is very important for the country. Therefore, the formula is now requisitioned from the Zhang family without compensation. In the Tang dynasty, there was no strict requirement to kneel when accepting a decree, but many, especially commoners, would kneel out of fear. However, Zhang Xiaochuan did not kneel to receive the decree. Jia Qijuan showed a slight change in expression, but said nothing. After Jia Qijuan finished reading, Zhang Xiaochuan was expected to respond and take the decree, but he stood there motionless, as if turned to stone. Others were at a loss for words, and the atmosphere became extremely eerie. Zhang Yu thought to himself, let us see how proud you are now that the decree has arrived. Will you accept it? The Zhang family was worried, thinking the emperor was being too unreasonable and threatening their livelihood. They hoped that Erlang could withstand this, or they might as well rebel together. Zhang Xiaochuan contemplated how to receive the decree in a way that would serve his purpose. He needed to show anger and resentment. Yes, anger and resentment. Let me gather my emotions. Jia Qijuan couldn't wait any longer and broke the silence. Young Master Zhang, quickly accept the decree. Zhang Xiaochuan remained dazed, as if enchanted. Jia Qijuan called out again, Young Master Zhang, hurry and accept it. Do you intend to refuse the decree? Quickly. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaochuan shouted, accept the decree. His sudden outburst startled everyone around, interrupting Jia Qijuan's words. However, Zhang Xiaochuan's performance was not over yet. He had a fierce look in his eyes and shouted, think of my Zhang family's loyalty and righteousness. If my ancestors are watching from above, let them see, when my Zhang family was impoverished and struggling to make ends meet, did any royal family member ever come to take a look? When my Zhang family was humiliated and rejected in marriage, where was the nation? Jia Qijuan, realizing Zhang Xiaochuan's passionate words could not go on unchecked, quickly intervened and shouted, Zhang Xiaochuan has lost his mind. Someone hold him down. Wei Laosan, the security captain of the village, had always been by Zhang Xiaochuan's side, especially with Teng Yi not present. He believed Zhang Xiaochuan was not out of his mind. Rather, he was acting for a purpose and could not let anyone disturb his performance. Wei Laosan warned the approaching soldiers, you better not touch him. He possesses divine retribution power. Touching him will mean death. You can try if you don't believe it. Upon hearing this, the soldiers halted. Zhang Yu even chimed in. There really is divine retribution. The crowd was momentarily frozen, and Zhang Xiaochuan continued. Now that my Zhang family has a means of livelihood, how can anyone just demand it? Today they can take the method of making glass. Tomorrow they can take the method of steelmaking, and the day after they can take the method of making MSG. This kind of bullying is intolerable. I, Zhang Xiaochuan, will go to the capital to seek justice from the emperor. At this point, Zhang Xiaochuan's emotions peaked. He felt his anger boiling over and immediately pulled out a pair of scissors from his waist, cut off a chunk of his hair, and held it up, declaring, I, Zhang Xiaochuan, cut my hair to express my determination to seek justice for the Zhang family. Chapter 173. Wash, cut, blow dry. Seeing Zhang Xiaochuan's act of cutting his hair, the members of the Zhang family were moved by his emotions. Wei Laosan rushed forward, snatched the scissors from Zhang Xiaochuan, and cut his own hair. Raising it in the air, I, Wei Laosan, also cut my hair to express my determination to live and die with the Zhang family. At that moment, another member of the Zhang family picked up the scissors and cut his hair, raising the severed locks and shouting, I vow to live and die with the Zhang family. In an instant, whether it was the internal guards of the Zhang family or the employees of the tech group, all the men began cutting their hair. Holding the severed strands aloft, they shouted in unison, we cut our hair to express our determination to live and die with the Zhang family. The atmosphere among the Zhang family became fervent, and more people gathered, threatening to overwhelm the imperial decree procession. Zhang Xiaochuan quickly stepped forward. Everyone calm down. Let them leave. They are just following orders. At this moment, Zhang Xiaochuan felt like crying but had no tears. What was happening? I was cutting my hair for a purpose. And now everyone was just joining in for the excitement. However, he needed to appease the eunuch Jia quickly. Otherwise, this troublesome eunuch might turn around and send troops to the Zhang family, and then they would be in real trouble. After dispersing the gathered crowd, Zhang Xiaochuan pulled Jia Qijuan aside and said, I lost my composure in the heat of the moment earlier. I hope you will not take offense, Master Jia. Jia Qijuan thought to himself, is this what they call losing composure? This is more like a fit of madness. Who just comes up and cuts their own hair? Followed by a group of crazies doing the same? However, it's good that Zhang Xiaochuan has returned to normal. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how to report back. No blame. No blame. It's just that the decree has been announced, and if Zhang Xiaochuan doesn't accept it, I really won't know how to handle it. At this moment, Zhang Xiaochuan was quite agreeable. Accept the decree, I must accept it. Who said I wouldn't? Really? That's great. Jia Qijuan was immediately overjoyed to hear Zhang Xiaochuan agree to accept the decree. He then said, since Zhang Xiaochuan has accepted the decree, then please teach me the method for making glass so I can take it back. That won't do. What? Are you having second thoughts? Zhang Xiaochuan explained, no. It's just that the decree doesn't specify that the method for making glass must be taken back by you. The decree is given to me, and I will personally deliver the formula to the capital. In that case, why don't we travel together? Zhang Xiaochuan knew that if he let Jia Qijuan go back alone, he would definitely refuse, so he said, that's fine, but I still have some matters to arrange. Why not let you stay here for a couple of days to rest? And then we'll go together. That works too. They arranged for Jia Qijuan to stay at a villa hotel, while Zhang Yu, furious, went back home. Zhang Xiaochuan hurriedly pulled Yaoer back to the villa and took out a booklet. Yaoer, it's time to test your hair-cutting skills. Help me cut my hair into this Hong Kong-style back hairstyle. Yaoer held the scissors, recalling the sheep in the farm's pen with their unevenly cut wool, and said she was up for the task. But she still asked in confusion, did you plan this all along? You seem very eager to cut your hair and had me practice in advance. Zhang Xiaochuan chuckled, there's no choice. Long hair is too troublesome to manage and takes too much time. Wasting half an hour every day on my hair is really unnecessary. Yaoer casually guessed, not expecting Zhang Xiaochuan to admit it so readily. She was surprised. Are you saying you don't plan to grow your hair out anymore? You're not tired of us and planning to become a monk, are you? She spoke with a hint of tears in her eyes. Zhang Xiaochuan quickly responded, stop. Can you not think too much? I just think short hair is refreshing and looks good. Besides, it's not only monks who cut their hair. Aren't the people from the western regions also cutting their hair? You can just think of me as one of them. Yaoer thought about it and realized she was overthinking it. After all, how could a man as flirtatious as her husband ever become a monk? Alright, I believe you. But who openly claims to be from the western regions? That's lowering one's status. All 56 ethnic groups are one family. What status to lower? That's shallow. Hurry up and cut my hair. Since Zhang Xiaochuan had already prepared the hair-cutting tools in advance, and Yaoer had been practicing diligently lately, Zhang Xiaochuan's hair was managed quite well. Sporting long hair was one of the things Zhang Xiaochuan found most unacceptable in this era, and he had long wanted to do this. After enjoying his first ever wash and haircut in history, Zhang Xiaochuan stepped out with the first Hong Kong-style back hairstyle of the Tang dynasty. He needed to arrange some matters before heading to the capital. The first stop is to find Mo Tianji, Wei Laosan, and Luo Xiaohu. Some readers might wonder where Tang Yi has gone. He is on a secret mission, which will be explained later. Ha ha, Wei Laosan, it's a good thing I didn't shave my head. Your hairstyle is truly hilarious. Luo Xiaohu pointed at Wei Laosan's lady student haircut and laughed so hard he nearly gasped for air, then looked at Zhang Xiaochuan. Erlang. Your haircut looks so natural and even a bit handsome. I'm tempted to shave my head too. Wei Laosan looked aggrieved. Erlang, you're not being fair. Your hairstyle is so natural. Did you plan this in advance? I don't care. Your hair was trimmed later, so I want to trim too. Zhang Xiaochuan looked at Wei Laosan's round face topped with a lady student haircut, holding back laughter to the point of tears. Alright, this hairstyle was cut by Yaoer. She has a catalog where you can choose your favorite style, but Yaoer can't cut for all of you. It would wear her out. You should find 2 people as apprentices, and I'll have Yaoer guide you. As soon as Wei Laosan heard this, he immediately nodded in agreement. After the teasing ended, Zhang Xiaochuan discussed the security measures and actions in the capital with the 3 of them. Once everything was arranged, he found his sister-in-law to review some of the group's plans again. All matters were in order, and 2 days had passed. Due to the potential dangers of this trip to the capital, he only brought Luo Xiaohu and a team along with Jia Qijuan. However, the buzz around Zhang Xiaochuan's haircut did not die down. In fact, it intensified at the manor, especially after Wei Laosan brought 2 people to get their hair cut short, resulting in the entire security team sporting short haircuts. The styles varied, including buzz cuts, side parts, and layered looks, all appearing quite spirited and handsome, enhancing their masculine presence. The key point was that these hairstyles represented a belief, a show of support for Zhang Xiaochuan, and a spiritual bond with the little celestial master. So why should only the security team have short hair? As a result, during patrols, Wei Laosan was surrounded. Infuriated, he exclaimed, are you all planning to rebel? Rebel my foot. Wherever you got your hair cut, we want to get ours cut too. Yes, we want to cut our hair too. Seeing the crowd riled up, Wei Laosan had no choice but to push the 2 professional barbers from the Tang dynasty forward, but there were too many people. So he taught a few more. And when he realized that this momentum could not be stopped, he found Chao Qin and directly requested a place to arrange for dedicated barbers, marking the beginning of the Tang dynasty's salon services. Chapter 174. A new strategy unfolds. Yang Zhao reported to the Ministry of Revenue, where the official in charge was Wang He, a minister, perhaps due to the support he received from the emperor at the Huaiyue Xianghui Pavilion. Wang He was quite polite to him. An older official was assigned to guide him. At first, everything was fine, but as time went on, Yang Zhao sensed something was off. Wang He was merely polite on the surface, while in reality, he assigned him trivial tasks, which meant he was just passing time at the ministry every day. The official mentoring him seemed even more idle than he was. And although he wanted to find Princess Yushin, he had just received this position and was already aiming too high, likely expecting no good outcome. However, enduring this situation could stretch on for an indefinite period, and it was clear that he had hit a bottleneck regarding quick promotion. As Yang Zhao was deep in thought, his mentor seemed to sense his unease and said, is there something on your mind, Yang? Since there's nothing else to do, why not share it with me? Yang Zhao considered this and thought that chatting might spark some ideas, so he replied, I feel that being so idle means there's no hope for promotion. Promotion? The mentor shook his head and continued, young people are too impatient. You've only just joined the ministry, and you have no prior experience. Isn't it too early to be thinking about promotion? Yang Zhao thought to himself, where am I being impatient? I aim to be a prime minister. Starting from an 8th rank position and feeling hopeless about promotion is frustrating. Out loud, he said, who doesn't look up? It's only natural to think about it. The mentor's words were left unfinished as he turned to leave, his back appearing somewhat lonely. However, Yang Zhao was not the kind-hearted type. As he watched his mentor's retreating figure, he thought, we're different. I'm destined to be a prime minister, unlike you, who has spent your life as a mere official. Despite his complaints, it was clear that chatting with the old man offered no insights. He realized he needed to consult the mysterious bag. That was where the real power lay. The first bag had already helped him ascend to an official position, albeit a repressed one. Thinking of this, Yang Zhao eagerly awaited the end of the workday, so he could return and open the bag. Finally, the workday ended, and Yang Zhao hurried home. As Pei Rou saw him returning and was about to greet him, he rushed into a room that he had deemed off limits, not even allowing Pei Rou to enter. He grabbed the bag marked with the number 2, which felt heavy. Upon opening it, he was taken aback by a stack of cards slightly smaller than his palm. A small booklet, a tiny whip, a clump of mysterious black netting, and a bunch of miscellaneous items. Yang Zhao was a bit perplexed. What was this? It looked somewhat like clothing, but it was so short and revealing. Could it be garments for intimate encounters? If Zhang Xiaochuan knew what Yang Zhao was thinking at that moment, he would surely say, you're a genius. Yang Zhao picked up the instruction manual, and after reading it, his eyes widened in shock. It really was that kind of clothing. He then took these items and headed straight for Yang Yuyao. At first, Yang Yuyao was very resistant. But she couldn't withstand Yang Zhao's persistent persuasion. Once she tried it on, Yang Zhao exclaimed, this is truly amazing. The design of the clothing was indeed clever. Yang Yuyao, wearing high-heeled boots, swayed gracefully towards Yang Zhao, the rhythm of her shoes striking the floor creating a clattering sound, exuding a regal presence. Initially resistant, she soon fell in love with the outfit. The fitted design accentuated her curves, and the high heels elongated her legs. Moreover, the snug fit of the design provided a sense of security. Clad in mysterious black, she walked with newfound confidence. In this captivating scene, how could Yang Zhao, with his desires, resist the beauty before him? After the storm, Yang Zhao's intellect began to kick in. The instructions only detailed how to use the items, but did not specify the circumstances under which they should be used. It couldn't possibly be intended for his wife. Moreover, there was a stack of cards that were even more exquisitely crafted than a small leather jacket, which made one ponder how to use them wisely. Yang Zhao couldn't figure out how to utilize these props, so he thought about asking Yang Yuyao. He didn't mention that it was a celestial masteress pouch, but simply stated that he had obtained this good item and was curious about how to use it to aid his career. Unfortunately, Yang Yuyao didn't offer any constructive advice, so he had to head home first. Li Longji had not been in a good mood these past few days because Consort Wu kept pestering him to establish Li Zhao as the crown prince. Although she didn't say it directly, the topic was always implied. However, Li Longji did not wish to make Li Zhao the crown prince, so he tried to avoid Consort Wu, which was quite bothersome. Normally, Li Longji favored Consort Wu the most, and with the crown prince position vacant, Li Zhao was naturally a popular candidate. However, due to the favor Li Longji had shown Consort Wu over the years, her sense of reverence had loosened. When Zhang Jiuling was still the prime minister, she even brazenly sent eunuchs to pressure him into supporting Li Zhao. Although Li Longji did not punish Consort Wu for this, it planted a thorn in his heart. At the same time, he recalled that when Consort Wu was first favored, she had 3 children, all of whom died before reaching 1 year old. Now, thinking back, this woman also bore the surname Wu. Could she be like his grandmother, Wu Zetian, who harmed her own children to sabotage the empress? Once a person begins to doubt, even without evidence, the subconscious accepts it as fact. Thus, Li Longji was convinced that the offspring of the Wu family needed to be guarded against, which naturally meant he couldn't establish Li Zhao as the crown prince. However, he had no idea who to appoint instead, which made him even more anxious. Li Longji had Gao Lishir bring him the dragon pearl to play with, hoping to alleviate his agitation. To his surprise, it actually worked. Upon seeing the dragon pearl, Li Longji immediately thought of Yang Zhao, who was quite an interesting person. He then ordered Gao Lishir to summon Yang Zhao for an audience. As soon as Yang Zhao returned home, he encountered Gao Lishir, who had come to summon him. Yang Zhao quickly greeted him with a smile, saying, "What brings you here, esteemed elder? It's truly an honor for a lowly person like me." Since Gao Lishir was highly trusted by the emperor, many lower-ranking officials referred to him as esteemed elder. Gao Lishir replied, "Yang, you are too humble. His Majesty has summoned you. Please come with me to the palace." Yang Zhao was also a clever person. He handed a gold ingot to Gao Lishir and asked, "May I ask what His Majesty wishes to see me about, so I can prepare accordingly?" Normally, Gao Lishir would not reveal the emperor's intentions, but given the circumstances, it was clear that the emperor wanted to find Yang Zhao for some light conversation. It would be better to give him a hint so Yang Zhao could be prepared. Thus, he said, "His Majesty has not been in a good mood recently and wishes to speak with you. As a member of the court, you must not consider yourself a lowly person. Thank you for your guidance, esteemed elder. I understand. Please allow me to prepare, and I will follow you to meet His Majesty immediately." Chapter 175. Quick on his feet, your humble Minister Yang Zhao pays his respects to your Majesty. Long live your Majesty. Upon seeing Li Longji, Yang Zhao immediately performed a grand bow. In the Tang dynasty, such formalities were only required on specific occasions, such as grand court meetings, important festivals, or sacrifices. Under normal circumstances, subjects would simply bow and perform a clasped hand salute when meeting the emperor. Therefore, Yang Zhao's grand gesture amused Li Longji, who chuckled and said, "You may rise, my dear minister. There is no need for such grand formalities." Yang Zhao still looked submissive. "Thank you, your majesty. All right, relax a bit. I called you here for no particular reason. Just because I found your conversation amusing last time and wanted to hear you share some interesting stories from Shu," the emperor said. Speaking of interesting stories from Shu, it reminded me of a new popular pastime from that region. Yang Zhao continued as he took out a stack of cards slightly smaller than a palm. Gao Lishir took them and presented them to the table. Yang Zhao went on to explain. This is called playing cards, consisting of 52 cards, including 2 jokers and 4 suits. With a good memory and eloquence, Yang Zhao recounted the introduction he had just read from the instructions to Li Longji, who listened with great interest and quickly asked about the specific ways to play. Yang Zhao recalled that there were several games mentioned, and he decided to start with a 3-player game called Fast Run. Some might find the name unfamiliar, but it is actually similar to a well-known game. It was just that in this era, anyone with a bit of power was considered the landlord, so Zhang Xiaochuan had renamed it to a more casual title, Fast Run. Upon hearing the introduction of the gameplay, Li Longji couldn't contain his excitement and immediately ordered Gao Lishir to bring in the concubines, and the emperor started playing right away. Playing cards were undoubtedly a classic pastime, and the emperor was so engrossed that he forgot to reward Yang Zhao. The next day, Li Longji promoted Yang Zhao to the position of Deputy Minister of Revenue, elevating him 2 ranks at once. An ordinary person might take a lifetime to achieve such a promotion, but Yang Zhao managed to do it in just half a month, faster than a rocket. Surprisingly, the first thing Yang Zhao did after becoming deputy minister was to submit a memorial stating that having the character for knife in his name implied a loss of wealth. So he requested to change his name to Guozhong to demonstrate his loyalty to the country. The emperor found Yang Zhao very thoughtful and granted him the name Yang Guozhong, praising him in the process. The Ministry of Revenue had originally been a domain for Li Linfu, but now that Yang Zhao, now Yang Guozhong, was favored, they had no choice but to change their strategy from suppression to alliance. However, Yang Guozhong wasn't a good person either. Before long, he became Li Linfu's subordinate. As for Zhang Xiaochuan's plan to deal with Li Linfu, that could wait for later. For now, it was important to secure his position. Li Linfu, having investigated Yang Zhao's background, knew he was just a petty gambler. Although he had stumbled upon good fortune by gaining the emperor's favor, he certainly wouldn't achieve anything significant. So he wasn't overly cautious about Yang Guozhong. For a time, the 2 corrupt officials of the prosperous Tang dynasty were in cahoots. At the same time, the gameplay of the cards spread throughout the capital, quickly becoming a favorite in various social and entertainment venues. Unfortunately, the paper used to make playing cards was relatively rare. However, some clever individuals started using thin bamboo slices, covered on both sides with rice paper, which provided the necessary thickness and sturdiness. Yet, this handmade paper still fell short of expectations and could only barely serve as playing card material. Regrettably, as soon as the rice paper cards were launched, they were quickly overshadowed by better playing cards produced by the Dou family's general store. As Zhang Xiaochuan and Jia Qijuan walked along the way, stopping frequently, it was mainly due to Zhang Xiaochuan's poor horsemanship, which made him slow, indeed, only slightly faster than a horse-drawn carriage. After riding for a while, Zhang Xiaochuan would complain of a sore backside and insist on stopping to rest. At first, Jia Qijuan was quite anxious and kept urging Zhang Xiaochuan. Zhang Xiaochuan felt that taking a break was indeed quite urgent. So he took out a deck of playing cards he had prepared in advance and suggested a quick half-hour game before continuing their journey. People in ancient times often found themselves bored with limited entertainment options, so the playing cards immediately caught Jia Qijuan's interest. Zhang Xiaochuan confidently introduced the game and its rules. Alright, the gameplay is explained. Now let's talk about winning and losing. Since we are just having fun, let's keep the stakes small, 1 round per unit, with doubles for treasure cards and double points for a spring. The maximum is 10 units. Jia Qijuan asked, "What is this game called? You haven't mentioned it yet." "Oh right, this game is called Dou Jiao Pao De Kuai, Run Fast. The first player to finish their cards wins. Hence the name Run Fast," Zhang Xiaochuan replied. Jia Qijuan repeated, "Run Fast. Good, let's begin." In the first round, Zhang Xiaochuan had an average hand but managed to become the dealer, and surprisingly, he did well. Since both Jia Qijuan and another accompanying officer were beginners, Zhang Xiaochuan barely won the first round. However, starting from the second round, Zhang Xiaochuan's luck turned sour, and he began to lose, losing 6 rounds in a row. Feeling that things were going downhill, he immediately suggested they stop playing. "Hey, we agreed on a quick half hour, and it's already taken most of that time. We really need to continue our journey." Jia Qijuan and the officer were really into the game, and Jia Qijuan retorted, "We're not in such a rush that we can't spare a moment. Let us play a couple more rounds." Zhang Xiaochuan, with a dark expression, replied, "Jia, didn't you say His Majesty was waiting? If we delay our journey, it will be your responsibility." Saying this, he pulled out a 30-unit voucher, which could be used at the top 10 merchant shops in the capital. He had already explained this when providing benefits to Jia Qijuan, so he directly used it to cover the betting amount. Jia Qijuan thought for a moment and decided it was better to continue their journey first, knowing that this guy would want to take another break soon. so he gladly accepted the voucher. Sure enough, after about an hour of travel, Zhang Xiaochuan claimed to be tired again, so they stopped for another quick half-hour game. Zhang Xiaochuan felt that the location had good feng shui and would surely bring him good luck, so he was determined to win this time. However, he started off unlucky and kept losing, regardless of whether he was the dealer or teamed up with others. Losing, a total of 18 rounds. Frustrated, he decided the location must be bad for luck, so he packed up the cards and suggested they continue their journey. Jia Qijuan and the officer, being winners, had nothing to say and resumed their travel. Finally, when they arrived at the post station after dark, Zhang Xiaochuan, not willing to give up, had dinner and tried again. Unfortunately, his luck remained terrible, and he calculated that he had already lost several hundred units that day. Zhang Xiaochuan exclaimed, "This is ridiculous. I haven't won since the first round. I've used every trick I learned from films and videos, but my luck is just too bad. Am I cursed to lose every time I gamble? Is there any justice in this?" Jia Qijuan remarked, "Zhang Xiaochuan is something else. No wonder he is the founder of poker. Being able to lose every single time is no small feat moreover. He is worth befriending. He is putting on such a good act just to lose and please me. It's impressive." A few days later, Zhang Xiaochuan still refused to believe in bad luck, but unfortunately, it was real. Not only was his face growing darker, but the skills of Jia Qijuan in playing cards were also improving. As a result, it became increasingly difficult for Zhang Xiaochuan to win. Desperate, he accepted the fact that he had a bad luck charm when it came to gambling, and vowed not to play cards again before entering the capital. Jia Qijuan felt a bit embarrassed. Zhang Xiaochuan had lost to him for 3 consecutive days, accumulating losses of over 1,000 coins. Moreover, he had to pretend to be very frustrated about losing, which was indeed rare. He thought it best to lend a hand regarding the trip to the capital. Chapter 176. The sound of the drum shakes the capital after a series of stops. Zhang Xiaochuan and his companions finally arrived at the capital. Gazing at Chang'an under the setting sun, Zhang Xiaochuan felt a moment of daze. The Anhua Gate before him was the same as the later Yongning Gate, which was renamed during the Ming Dynasty when the city walls were expanded. The walls extending on both sides were bare of the greenery found in later times, appearing stark but magnificent, exuding a sense of depth and history. Zhang Xiaochuan halted his horse for a long while, slowly approaching Anhua Gate, and gently touching the nails on the gate. A guard noticed this and wanted to stop him, but was held back by Jia Qijuan. Although he didn't know what Zhang Xiaochuan was doing, he found Zhang to be a person worth befriending, especially since he was quite generous. So he decided to lend a small favor. Zhang Xiaochuan lingered over one of the gate's nails, recalling that during a past visit to Xi'an, someone had carved words on it, but now it was smooth and new. It was rare to find something identical to the later version in this era. However, everything changes and cannot return to the past. Now, being here felt like establishing a home, a wealth accumulated over several lifetimes that couldn't be compared to any regrets. With that thought, he stepped into the city, as one must always look forward. Once inside, it was already late, making it impossible to meet anyone of importance. Jia Qijuan returned to the palace to report back. Since Zhang Xiaochuan wasn't an official, he found an inn to stay in. Jia Qijuan had left a servant to return and inform him once Zhang Xiaochuan had settled in. In the East Market, Zhang Xiaochuan casually found an inn to stay in, and the servant returned to report to Jia Qijuan. With the information brought back, Jia Qijuan felt relieved. He had initially expected many obstacles on this trip, but it turned out to be quite smooth. Bringing back the formula was also part of the task, and fortunately, it had been accomplished. Earlier, someone sent by Gao Lishir had communicated that the emperor would summon Zhang Xiaochuan after the morning court session the next day. Once Zhang Xiaochuan handed over the formula, this mission would be considered successfully completed. Reflecting on the enjoyable journey and the money won, Jia Qijuan couldn't help but think fondly of Zhang Xiaochuan, recognizing him as a person worth cultivating a relationship with, and a smile crept onto his face. Little did Jia Qijuan know, Zhang Xiaochuan was a ticking time bomb, just waiting to explode. As soon as Zhang Xiaochuan settled into his room, Luo Xiaohu arrived with 2 members of the Plum Blossom Guard. It turned out that as soon as they entered the city, Luo Xiaohu had spotted the markings left by the guard, which is why he chose this inn. The group conspired in the room for a long time before concluding their discussion, as Zhang Xiaochuan was making preparations for the tasks ahead. Zhang Xiaochuan was preparing to meet the most prominent figure of the Tang dynasty in a special way, giving both the emperor and himself an opportunity. As the curfew lifted and the drum sounded, just around 4 or 5 in the morning, the streets of Chang'an began to light up with the flickering lanterns of officials heading to court. Various early risers also started to appear on the streets, although not crowded. There were enough people around, and Zhang Xiaochuan and his companions pushed a cart along the road, which did not seem out of place. Arriving at a secluded spot in Chang Lufang, Zhang Xiaochuan and his group reviewed their plan once more. Then, he took one of the guards and headed towards Danfeng Gate. By now, the sky was bright, and the emperor should be holding court within the palace. Making this timing just right, Zhang Xiaochuan noticed the large drum outside Danfeng Gate. It must be the Dengwen drum. The Dengwen drum was used for reporting grievances, a practice found in many dynasties, but often it served merely as decoration because it was manned by specific guards and inspectors. When someone approached to strike the drum, a guard would lead them to the inspector, who would then register the complaint. Minor issues would be dealt with directly, while serious cases would be escalated. However, During the Tang dynasty, the governance was relatively clear and straightforward, meaning that grievances against officials were usually addressed, unlike in later dynasties where complaining could lead to severe repercussions. Therefore, it was rare for anyone to strike the drum at the palace, and even if someone did, they could usually be dissuaded. After all, the purpose of striking the drum was to seek justice, and regardless of whether the complaint was against an official or a common person, the inspector's office could handle it. So there was no need to be stubborn about it. Today, Inspector Zhang Xiao was on duty at the Dingwen drum registration desk. He was surprised to see someone loitering around the drum so early in the morning. This was the imperial palace, not a marketplace. And it was unusual for someone to be wandering about without purpose. This person was likely there to strike the drum. What a nuisance it was to encounter someone so stubborn right at the start of his shift. Zhang Xiao hurried to the palace gate and called for guards to intercept the person at the drum. Zhang Xiaochuan had been gathering his courage for a long time and finally thought to himself, "Here I come, Li Longji." Just as he was about to strike the drum, he heard a voice call out, "Hold on." The interruption broke Zhang Xiaochuan's momentum, and he turned to see who was speaking. The person continued, "I am Inspector Zhang Xiao. Young sir, what grievance do you wish to report to me? If it is indeed a matter of concern, I will certainly advocate for you." Since the saying goes not to strike someone who is smiling at you, Zhang Xiaochuan felt he had no choice but to respond, "I have met Inspector Zhang. The commoner has a grievance, but it is beyond the inspector's jurisdiction, so please do not stop me from striking the drum to seek justice." Upon hearing this, Zhang Xiao immediately became indignant. What could be beyond my jurisdiction? From nobles to common folk, our office can manage it all. Just tell me who you wish to complain about. Even if it's against me, I assure you we can handle it. He paused for a moment, pointing to the sky, implying that even complaints against the emperor were within their purview, and indeed, it was not uncommon for inspectors during the Tang dynasty to criticize the emperor. Yet, Zhang Xiaochuan shook his head again and replied, "You can handle people, but what if I say I want to complain about the heavens? Heaven knows. And the earth knows too. You must be out of your mind. Someone, arrest this person. He has gone mad." As Zhang Xiaochuan and his companions spoke, they attracted the attention of passers-by. Since Danfeng Gate is relatively close to a certain temple, many people were coming and going, and a crowd quickly gathered. Upon hearing that he was to be arrested, Zhang Xiaochuan immediately raised his voice and shouted, "Why should I be arrested? Isn't this drum just a means to voice my grievances? Why should I be taken for merely beating the drum?" The onlookers began to murmur among themselves, as people tend to sympathize with the weaker party. Thus, the discussion revolved around how the officials and guards oppressed the common people, preventing them from voicing their complaints. Zhang Xiaochuan felt overwhelmed, while the guards hesitated to move forward. Seeing their indecision, Zhang Xiaochuan thought there was no better time to strike the drum. So he quickly grabbed the drumsticks and struck down with great force. Boom! I call upon heaven. There is great treachery in this dark world. The sound of the drum was heavy and resonant, rippling outwards, and soon it could be heard within several miles. Boom! I call upon the earth. The tyrannical rule makes it hard to survive. Before the first sound faded, the second boom followed, shaking the city. Chapter 177. I want to appeal to the emperor. The drum at Danfeng Gate had been silent for an unknown time, long enough for everyone to have forgotten its sound. Who could have imagined that on this seemingly ordinary morning, the drum sound would reverberate throughout the city? Inside the hall, a certain emperor was holding court when the drum sounded. At first, he thought it was the wrong signal for the curfew, but the continuous drumming indicated otherwise. The ministers below exchanged glances, seemingly questioning the source of the noise. The emperor, not one to linger on guesses, said, "General Gao, quickly investigate the source of the drum." Gao Lisher promptly left, and at that moment, the official Yang Xinjin stepped forward, saying, "Your Majesty, I know what that sound is." The emperor immediately responded, "What is it? Speak quickly." "Your Majesty, it seems someone is beating the drum outside Danfeng Gate to voice grievances." The emperor nodded. "Yes, it must be the grievance drum." This drum was established during the reign of a previous emperor, and though there were instances of grievances being voiced when I first ascended the throne, it has been many years since we last heard it. I never expected it to sound again. Li Linfu immediately chimed in, "Your Majesty, with your enlightened rule and clear governance, there are naturally few grievances. This drum may not necessarily indicate any injustice. Perhaps it would be better for a humble servant to investigate and report back to you." Li Linfu was eager to deflect any potential accusations against himself, as he often suppressed dissent and harmed loyal subjects for personal gain. The emperor waved his hand. "It has been a long time since anyone has beaten the drum for grievances. Today, let us examine this matter right here in the court." At that moment, Gao Lisher returned and reported, "Your Majesty, there is someone outside Danfeng Gate beating the drum to voice grievances, speaking passionately about a great injustice. However, no matter what questions we ask, they remain silent, only seeking to appeal directly to you. I fear I have not performed my duties well and hope for your punishment." The emperor showed no intention of blaming him. No harm done. "In that case, you go and summon the drummer to the court for questioning." Gao Lisher received the command and hurried back to Danfeng Gate. At this moment, Zhang Xiaochuan had been brought inside, watched by several guards. He had a handgun tucked in a leather holster, boldly hanging at his waist like an ornament, and surprisingly, no one approached to check it. Behind him, a guard disguised as an elderly servant was even more outrageous. He had a rifle camouflaged to look like a cane, leaning casually against the ground. Although it looked odd, the guards did not disarm them. Just then, a high-ranking official arrived. saying that the emperor had summoned him to follow. Zhang Xiaochuan hoped that his old servant could accompany him, feeling a bit anxious as it was his first time in such a situation. The official agreed to let the servant come along. Zhang Xiaochuan had previously worried about not being able to bring his firearm inside, but to his surprise, everything went smoothly. He thought to himself, "Here I come, are you ready?" As he considered how to greet the emperor, whether to be direct or more reserved, he worried about the potential repercussions of either approach. The official's voice interrupted his thoughts. "We are almost there. Once inside the hall, do not speak recklessly to avoid losing your life with a careless remark. Just present your grievances honestly." Zhang Xiaochuan respectfully replied, "Thank you, esteemed official. I will remember your words." Upon arriving outside the hall, the official asked Zhang Xiaochuan to wait while he went in to report. Shortly after, a loud announcement was made. "The one who beats the drum for an audience is here." Zhang Xiaochuan stepped over the threshold, trembling as he walked to the center of the hall. The atmosphere was abuzz with murmurs. The emperor was also sizing him up. Zhang Xiaochuan's short hair had a certain handsomeness to it. Could he be from the western regions? His trembling was not feigned. It was indeed his first time witnessing such grandeur, making him a bit flustered. He felt his vision blur as he faced the emperor, bowing slightly and performing a respectful gesture. He stated, "Commoner Zhang Xiaochuan pays his respects to your majesty." The emperor thought to himself, "Zhang Xiaochuan, why does that name sound so familiar?" Just as he was about to excuse Zhang Xiaochuan from the formalities, another official suddenly interrupted. "Old commoner, why do you not kneel before the emperor?" Zhang Xiaochuan was taken aback. He recalled that it seemed one was not required to kneel to greet the emperor. Was he mistaken? He blurted out, "Is there a rule that requires kneeling?" This question caught the other official off guard. Historically, there had been no strict requirement for kneeling when addressing the emperor, especially for lower officials or commoners who, out of respect, would typically bow. Zhang Xiaochuan's refusal to kneel seemed a bit out of place. But if asked for a specific regulation, there was none. Seeing the official at a loss for words, the emperor intervened. "All right, you may be excused from kneeling. Now tell me, what is the reason for your drum beating?" Zhang Xiaochuan took a deep breath to calm his nerves before responding, "I wish to report to the emperor." In just 5 short words, the entire court was thrown into chaos. This was an outrageous act. How dare you accuse the emperor? Why don't you just ascend to heaven? Fortunately, Minister Li managed to intervene. Otherwise, who knows what nonsense would have followed. Unfortunately, they were unaware that this was what Zhang Xiaochuan referred to as a conservative approach. If he hadn't been conservative, would he have come in and stabbed the emperor outright? After interrupting Zhang Xiaochuan, Li Linfu continued, "Your Majesty, I request that this madman who despises imperial authority be taken out and executed." His supporters immediately echoed, "We support this." Hearing someone accuse him naturally made Li Longji quite displeased. However, there has always been the saying that an emperor cannot directly execute someone, or he would be branded a tyrant who cannot tolerate dissent. Yet, Li Longji was extremely furious. He had graciously allowed you to plead your case, and you came in to accuse him. He truly wanted to follow Li Linfu's suggestion and kill this fellow. Just then, another minister spoke up. It was the grand historian Li Shizhi. "Your Majesty, I believe this is inappropriate. Historically, emperors have rectified their mistakes in a timely manner. Although this person speaks bluntly and arrogantly, it may be for a reason. Why not let him finish before making a conclusion?" Now it was the turn of the faction supporting Li Shizhi to back him up. "We support this." The emperor thought, since someone wants to protect Zhang Xiaochuan, he could only let him finish his accusation. Otherwise, it would be seen as blocking free speech and harming the people, branding him a tyrant who disregards public welfare. So he decided to let Zhang Xiaochuan continue. Unexpectedly, Li Linfu countered, "Your Majesty, even if there is something inappropriate, there are ministers like us to advise you. When has it ever been the case that a commoner can speak freely in the court? I believe he should be executed." Zhang Xiaochuan was also quite frustrated. He had only said 5 words since entering, and they had been discussing for so long. What was the point? He was eager to accuse the emperor. Who could come and silence these 2 fools? Li Shizhi wanted to continue arguing with Li Linfu, but was interrupted by Li Longji. "You 2 ministers need not quarrel any further. I, too, want to hear what he has to say. If he does not speak clearly, I do not mind testing the sharpness of my blade." After saying this, he displayed an imposing aura and added 2 words, "Speak." Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Zhang Xiaochuan had entered the right mindset after the earlier debate and was no longer flustered. He straightened his back and said, "I want to accuse the emperor of oppressing the good and forcibly conscripting commoners for his secret recipe." Upon hearing this, the emperor immediately realized that Zhang Xiaochuan was the one High Minister Gao had reported would come to present a recipe today. How did he end up accusing me? Although it wasn't a major issue, it felt like a toad on my foot, irritating. This fellow was too infuriating. He appeared respectful in receiving the imperial decree, only to turn around and slap me in the face in court. After this incident, this person cannot be allowed to remain. However, for now, he still needed to handle the situation to avoid being publicly shamed for seizing a commoner's secret recipe. Li Longji asserted his imperial authority, saying, "Zhang Xiaochuan, do I have your family's secret recipe? How dare you slander me? Do you truly not fear for your life?" Li Longji cast a glance at Li Linfu, who immediately understood and jumped out. "Bold commoner, even if the court needs to requisition your family's secret recipe, it has nothing to do with His Majesty. You dare to slander in front of the court, you truly deserve death." Zhang Xiaochuan was distraught, thinking to himself, I've only managed to say a sentence and a half, and you all are shouting for blood. Can't we just complain happily? I'm so exhausted. No, I have to go with plan B and directly seize the emperor, then kill my way out and rebel. But he realized that if he overthrew the dynasty, it would take at least 10 years or so for the country to stabilize, and he couldn't afford that time. He sighed, resigning himself to continue this pointless verbal sparring with these old men. However, he couldn't remain passive, so he turned to Li Linfu and said, I don't know who you are. If this were anywhere else, someone asking such a question would likely receive a slap, as Li Linfu was the highest-ranking official beneath the emperor. But in this context, it was reasonable that the commoners didn't recognize him, so he proudly replied, I am Li Linfu, the Right Chancellor and Minister of the Left, holding the title of Grand Secretary. After saying this, he looked at Zhang Xiaochuan with disdain, as if to say, how dare you ask who I am? Which of these could not crush you? Are you scared yet? Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiaochuan's next words made him want to spit blood. What? You are the Chancellor? I want to report you. Upon hearing this, Li Linfu interrupted him directly, bold. Your Majesty, I request that this child be executed immediately. This is clearly a baseless accusation. He must be out of his mind. Li Shizhi was watching Zhang Xiaochuan with interest, thinking, this kid is quite something, bold and decisive, coming right out to accuse both the emperor and the chancellor. If he survives today, I will bring him to the censorate. Although Li Longji and Li Linfu were supposed to be on the same side, upon hearing Zhang Xiaochuan accuse the chancellor, he felt not anger but a hint of pleasure. He thought to himself, just now, I was the center of attention for being accused, which was quite embarrassing. Now that the chancellor is being accused, it actually lessens my own awkwardness. This accusation against the chancellor is quite good. Zhang Xiaochuan was nearly going mad, having only managed to say a few words and being interrupted again. He had only spoken 2 complete sentences so far. Without waiting for Li Longji to respond to Li Linfu, he immediately said, Your Majesty, Lords of the Court. Regardless of who I am accusing or what I am accusing them of, at the very least, let me finish my words. I, a commoner, implore Your Majesty to listen to my grievance. Li Longji thought that the matter of grievances being spread outside was certainly causing a stir. So this accuser could not be executed directly. It would be better to wait until he finished speaking before making a decision. With that in mind, he said, Granted. No one else may interrupt. Zhang Xiaochuan then began recounting the situation of his family before his time travel, explaining how his family had fallen into poverty, losing everything, and that he had even given away his ancestral home to pursue education. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not learn due to illness. Eventually, he met an old sage on Qingqing Mountain who guided him, allowing him to improve the glass-making method and create glass, which gradually improved his family's situation. But then he suddenly received an imperial decree demanding he hand over the secret recipe, which was no different from robbery. So he felt wronged and came to the court to reason with them. Except for the 2 instigators, Li Longji and Li Linfu. The others finally understood the reason behind it. However, there were originally 2 factions, one supporting Zhang Xiaochuan and the other opposing him. After the discussion, surprisingly, they all united in blaming Zhang Xiaochuan, with everyone feeling that it was only natural for the emperor or the court to requisition his secret formula. Zhang Xiaochuan expressed his discontent, saying, So everyone thinks their wealth is equivalent to that of the court and can be seized at will? Li Linfu intended to retort, but due to his conservative nature and being one of the accused, he subtly exchanged glances. Zhong Shi, a loyal subordinate, Wang He, immediately jumped in to respond. Of course not. But what you have is not wealth, it's just a secret formula. Zhang Xiaochuan was somewhat speechless, noting that in ancient times, there was no concept of intellectual property. So according to this official from the Ministry of Revenue, does that mean the secret formula can be taken away at will? Wang He sensed that this was a trap and after some thought replied, That's not quite it. But since the secret formula was requisitioned by the court, do you intend to defy the order? Wang He was quite quick-witted, turning the tables on Zhang Xiaochuan. If he claimed he wouldn't comply, then defying the order could lead to a death penalty. If he said he would comply, then he had to surrender the secret formula. And if he complied, what was the point of his complaint? Zhang Xiaochuan did not take the bait and instead brought the matter back to the initial accusation. This is precisely what I am reporting today, Your Majesty. The Chancellor, for personal gain, oppresses the good and issues orders to requisition the common people's secret formulas. This not only competes with the people for profit, but is practically equivalent to robbery. Is such an imperial edict truly something the court should issue? Since you say I defy the order, I will question the authority of your edict. So the question returns, if you say I defy the order, then you must first justify whether this edict should have been issued. The edict has been given, and normally one should comply. It is unprecedented for someone like Zhang Xiaochuan to come forward and accuse both the issuing authority and the reviewers. The key point is that no one dared to do this before, and now that it has been done, you find yourself in a dilemma. If you do not process it and execute the person, how will the world view the emperor and the chancellor? How will history record this? But now that it is being processed, it similarly humiliates both the emperor and the chancellor. It has fallen into a stalemate. Debating seems impossible, and judging. Who would dare to judge, and who can judge? Chapter 179. The common people's just cause. Just when Zhang Xiaochuan's case against the emperor and the chancellor was at a stalemate, someone jumped forward. A disruptive individual. Smooth-talking and aggressive, challenging authority. Moreover, one could tell from his hair that he was unconventional. Such rebellious types should be dealt with harshly. Why debate with them? At this moment, an official, certainly one of Li Linfu's lackeys, stepped forward. Zhang Xiaochuan didn't he even ask who it was and directly retorted, "Is this a personal attack? Are you acting like a rogue? Is this the level of someone in your high position? You want to stifle free speech and compete with the people for profit. This is leading His Majesty to injustice and is bound to ruin the empire's fortunes. You should be the one punished." Li Longji observed and thought, what a sharp-tongued fellow. But how can we gloss over the emperor's extortionate actions today? Li Linfu looked at these people and thought they were useless. He had to step in himself. Moreover, he couldn't get bogged down in the right or wrong of the matter, as it was clearly wrong to forcibly seize a secret formula without reason. He needed to break out of this circle. He then said,